So it is my honor and privilege to open up the Board of Education regular meeting of March 28th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And so the first call to order is a Pledge of Allegiance. And I see that our Senator Heather Summers is here. I was wondering if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Flag is up here.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So I am just so very thankful that we're getting through this part of the pandemic where we can actually have live bodies here. And so it's so nice to be able to have our friends still on hybrid, but also to have them in person. So welcome and hello. I am actually going to we are now at the part of our agenda to recognition of and participation of visitors and delegations. And I would like to start off with a history day. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to
Oh,
introduce.
of course not. I don't want to do that. Good evening, everybody. I'm Liz Porter, and as a member of the Groton Board of Education, one of the other hats I wear is the Norwich Regional Coordinator for Connecticut History Day. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you two winners from the Norwich region this year. And I'd like the girls to stand up when I call your name, please. So Gracie Nolan and Samantha Morin. So just a little bit longer, okay? Gracie and Samantha did not listen to me. I'm so happy you didn't, because I said, don't do a paper, do anything but a paper. And they did papers and they placed. So I'm like, yes, I'm so glad you didn't listen to me. But Gracie took second place. And her paper was entitled The Lend-Lease Program Debate. And Samantha's paper was entitled The Debate. She came in third place, excuse me. The Debate, Is Space Exploration Necessary? So these two young ladies are now eligible to go on to the state competition, which they have to upload their revised papers by, I think it's the 14th of April. And then they go in competition with all the top 3 winners from the other 5 districts. So there's 6 districts, there's 18 in each group. So you've got a little bit of competition, but I know you're up to the task. And I just want to congratulate you, because Connecticut History Day is a portion of National History Day. And if these young ladies place in the top 2, they go on of their category and division, they go on to national competition, and that is held in June. And if we were live, it would be 4 days in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, it's still virtual. So, you know, they'll have all kinds of wonderful things, but I will be around to help you if you need to. You talk to Mr. Bass. He and I are going to be chatting tomorrow. But we just wanted to recognize your accomplishments. I wanted to say personally, yes, Groton Middle has made history, because this is the first time, of course, Groton Middle has existed to be able to do this competition. And you are in the record book. So congratulations, girls. Well done. I think their papers are awesome.
You don't have to stand any longer. You are more than welcome to stay or to leave, but once again, thank you so much. And we are so very Groton proud. Thank you. Thank you. One of the things that's really kind of exciting, I think, about the town of Groton is that we have representatives on both sides of the legislative body that work really hard for us and for Groton. And I think that we have a great relationship with, and that is, I know that we've got Chris Conley that is on Zoom, but we have a live in person, we have Heather Summers. So Heather, please come join us at the table.
So you can talk. Come to the table.
Come to the big table. And the reason why Susan and I actually thought it was a good idea to have both of them come is like you're just starting to really rev up. Well, you've actually been revving up.
I think I've been calling you weekly.
I like those phone calls. And as we know, Susan has been trying to keep us in the loop about the Alliance School District and the changes in what that means for us. And Susan she's done a lot of hard work in trying to get the information. But we just thought it would be really cool for both Heather and Chris to kind of talk about what are their efforts, what do they know, and what that possibly could or could not mean for Groton.
Absolutely, we so appreciate your support in Hartford. And I was able to send my testimony up there and testify on behalf of Groton, and really trying to get clearer understanding of what it means to be an Alliance graduate. So I think you probably have even more updated information.
Well, there is a proposal that the Alliance District, there's actually some new schools being added to the, hi Christine, I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
And those schools are not getting any additional funding like you all had when you were an Alliance district. So we're working on that too. But Alliance district graduates are going to be held harmless, it appears this way in the budget. There is a proposal, and I want to stress that these are all proposals. This doesn't mean this is passed. This doesn't mean that the legislature is going to vote on it. That will slowly phase out funding for Alliance districts, I think till 2028. There's some language in the bill so that but Alliance districts would be back to what they were originally getting for ECS funding based on the population of your schools. I want to caution you that even if this bill passed, and Christine can attest to this, is that every year it's a different story. So even, I can't tell you how many times we put something is going to be funded until 2024, and then another legislature comes in and they change it. So don't freak out, because everything is always fluid. I wish we had something that would say this is going to be permanent for X amount of years, but nothing is permanent. Everything is always changing in the legislature, and each year a new set of legislators come in. Maybe there's a new leader, we don't know, maybe we'll have a new governor, who knows what will happen. So even if something passes, that doesn't mean that it is necessarily going to stick. There are all these different ways to get funding to your school district if it doesn't pass in the appropriations budget. I sit on appropriations, I sit on education, sit on health and other subcommittees. So we are always fighting for you. And Christine and I don't think there's one person in the legislature that doesn't understand that Groton is a complete outlier for any other town, because we have the military base and no one else has that. So you have two seasoned legislators that are, working both of our sides to make sure that Groton will be funded. And Groton is our priority. It's the largest town in the actually second largest town in the second district, but has one of the largest school systems here. And that's what I can tell you. I don't know if you want to add anything, Christine, but there's, it's a constant negotiation. It is not, there's absolutely zero guarantees on anything, but that also means that you're not guaranteed to lose funding as you move forward. There's a very strong argument to be made about Groton and its military system and the children moving in and out and the extra needs that you have. It took us coming up with, hey, how about getting on Alliance District to be able to maintain your funding before? That was one of the ways that we were able to make sure that you actually, I think we got you an extra $1 million that year. There's different things that we're looking at. One of the ideas that I have is to not consider you moving forward as you graduate. I think there should be a special fund for military schools. That's something that doesn't exist now. So that may be a different avenue for a different formula to be able to fund Groton in a different way. I'm sure I'm not answering any of your questions, but I wish I had a crystal ball. It's constantly moving. There's a lot of money floating into the state now. but it will be spent on special projects and different things that are happening. Only certain money can be spent in certain areas coming in from the federal government. I'm not sure if you have anything specific, but it's this long, laborious process, and we will not know until a budget is actually formulated and passed as to where actually everything stands, if that makes any sense at all. We are in the throes of appropriations. We are reporting out to the larger committee on our subcommittees as what the funding is for education. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, there was proposals to change all the ECS formulas based on, different methods. We had our own formula that was really beneficial to Groton and some other towns that I represent. But in the end, it all kind of shook out and we had a different formula. So it's this constantly moving ball. But I don't want you to think that if something passes that it says, this is what we're going to do on Alliance districts till 2028, that does not mean it's going to stick at all. Because every year, new legislature, new bills, new things come in. So unfortunately, you're probably going to have to testify a lot, but that's just how it works.
Yeah. I'll add a couple updates. I certainly agree with what Senator Summers just said. And I've told the superintendent, I'm not sure if we will graduate or not graduate this year. Now, this has been a 5-year look back, and as we know, the last 2 years have been unprecedented. Some of the schools that are maybe added to the Alliance district are saying, hang on, hold back. These last 2 years, we shouldn't be looked at by our numbers because of COVID and the pandemic, and things just haven't been, this hasn't been a 5 years, hasn't been really good data because a lot of schools have struggled in different ways. So the first thing might be that we don't graduate from the Alliance district, that the General Assembly holds those numbers until we get post-COVID data. That's a real possibility right now. The other possibilities that we do graduate, which again, for this budget year, is a hold harmless. So there's no immediate concern, no immediate worry. Next year, there will be a new 2-year budget. Folks are still working on a variety of ECS funding plans, and one of them may pass, one of them may not pass in the next year or the long session. It's very unlikely that there would be any changes to the ECS funding in this short session, as that's a bigger bill for bigger discussion. So I would anticipate for your budget exactly what you expect with hold harmless and a possibility of graduating from the Alliance. But again, don't say that it will happen, because the last 2 years of numbers have just been different for everyone with COVID. Student attendance has been dismal for some districts. Student achievement, people have been doing the best they can in COVID. But again, it hasn't been your traditional last 2 years, as we all know. As far as things we can do now to maybe help, I know I talked to the superintendent, and we all got the same information from SDE as to our free and reduced school lunches. Now, as we know, children who are on Husky are automatically put in free and reduced school lunches, but that does, all of our military students are not on Husky, so they are not automatically enrolled, but their parents can do the enrollment forms. And the superintendent did get information, which was something new to me, but not new to others, that when a parent is deployed, that they are enrolled differently in free and reduced school lunch. So to get that information out to parents, I was talking to my husband, who back in his middle school years, which is a couple decades ago, worked at the desk when you used to collect actual money and cards for free and reduced school lunch. And he said, yeah, when parents were deployed, they had a special deployment card. So back in the 90s, they certainly were doing the deployment updates to free and reduced school lunch, but that might be something that in the last 2 years since we haven't had to do enrollments because all the students have gotten free and reduced school lunch for COVID, it might be something that the school board really does push to make sure all the kids are enrolled in free and reduced school lunch, because that is a factor that helps us to make sure we're getting appropriate funding on when they're looking at poverty levels. And again, all our Husky kids are automatically enrolled, but for our military families, that does need to be separate parent enrollments if they're not getting any other services. Again, some military families may be getting SNAP services or other services and may be enrolled, but not everyone may be enrolled. So the school may need to send those forms out to the parents to get them completed. And we will fight each budget year, each ECS formula, and we appreciate you guys being our partners. We know the superintendent will have to get us more data as we get the numbers for enrollment and free and reduced school lunch. And we'll be working to make sure that we're kept as whole as possible in the budget. But again, just because there is a projection with a reduction in a few years doesn't mean that's going to happen. So let's all just work hard together, fight for the kids and get them the appropriate funding.
I do think that there is, the USDA has changed, I heard from Ernie too, they've changed their formula on how they're gonna help with free and reduced lunch. So it's a significant impact to Groton. I think it's about $106,000. And we are looking about making that difference up in appropriations through the State Department of Education in the education budget. So we'll keep you abreast as far as that goes. I think the free and reduced lunch also extends to people that are working in the defense contractor, so like Electric Boat, et cetera, to fill that form out. You know, that can help with your looking at Alliance. I do think you probably will graduate. I could be wrong, but there are 3 new schools that are going to be added to the Alliance district, and I know they want to keep it at a certain limit. But again, you're held harmless this year for funding, and next year, regardless of what passes, it will be a new look and a new budget and a new probably ECS formula. There's so much time spent on the ECS formula because it's such a huge part of the budget.
And
there's
we
a lot of
heard
moving parts.
from Kathy Dempsey at the State Department that we were even held harmless on an ECS for till 28. 5 years.
It should be 5 years, yeah, for Alliance districts.
Yeah, hopefully longer.
Thank you.
Any other questions for either Chris or Heather? Dean, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
You walked in at the Alliance graduate. What does that mean? What does that mean?
We're talking about the Alliance district and how we're
Alliance
graduating. That's where we're at.
There are quite a few bills that will be affecting school districts, and I will try to, and Christine can also try to keep you informed on what those numbers are, some of the new requirements, primarily focused on children's mental health and behavioral health that we're seeing issues on the rise, significant issues. But so far, everything that has been put in as a requirement or a mandate has been able to be funded through the funding streams that we have. So we're very conscientious of going through, making sure that we're not putting something on you that is not covered by the state, because we don't think that's fair for the districts to come up with. But we can send you a list of those so you can keep track of what's happening. And if you have comments, I know that I've spoken to Kim on a couple of them. Feel free to reach out and get back to us. You think this is a good idea, it doesn't work, etc. We'll be happy to make sure your input is heard. It's hard to keep track of all the bills and how they all intersect and affect you. People love to tell school districts what to do. I've learned that.
Well, we're part of CABE, and CABE
Oh,
is
so
actually
they've given
doing a
you-
webinar on some of the new bills and how that's going to
Maybe I should
impact.
sit in on that because some
Yeah,
of those bills
I'll
are
forward
like
it to
70
you and to the
pages
board.
long,
I
so,
just saw it today,
yeah,
a workshop on that.
great.
Any other questions from the board? Heather, Chris.
Okay.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank
Feel
you so
better.
much
Thank
for,
you.
Okay, you're
coming.
welcome. Sure.
Thanks, Heather.
Sorry I
Thanks
didn't
for
have
wearing
my-
Fitch colors.
Yeah, I did this on purpose.
I know you did. Well, we're Fitch graduates, you know.
That's right.
All right, so our next on the recognition of and participation of visitors and delegations is Board Member Appreciation Month.
So this is the month of March that we are taking extra special time and attention to appreciate our board members, and you'll each receive a certificate that says your name and thank you for your dedication, commitment to Groton Board of Ed, and your tireless advocacy on behalf of the children. So that certainly is a commendation that we applaud you, we appreciate you. We know this is a volunteer position, although it probably feels like more than that most days, because it can be around the clock kind of volunteering. I put a call out to my art teachers who really designed this beautiful gallery for us. And I said, do you have something special that the children wouldn't mind contributing to the board members on behalf of their dedication and hard work. And so I heard from Beth Kohiri and her fifth graders that Thames River Magnet, her artist, learned about how tints, tones, and shades can be used in art to create value, area of light and dark. They used tempera paint and created monochromatic paintings using their own mixture of tints, tones, and shades. Birch trees were made and added to complete the lesson. Your watercolor birch tree paintings was an extensive activity around the aims of this lesson, and the task was intended to provide more forms of practice with previous learning. The students in the class created the masterpieces to thank you very much, and Erica Kreider did the framing. So you can, it goes this way. And this is actually, this is an honor, this one is in honor of Dean Antipas. So you can hand it to Dean. Isn't that great? And then who else do we have? Kim.
Ooh, there you
Yours
go.
is your color.
That's so
It's very cool. Dr. Ackerman, we have yours. You'll be receiving yours. Stop by.
I can bring it.
Liz, do you want me to keep your in the?
No.
Oh, they are so beautiful, aren't
My
they?
colors. Those are my colors. I know. Those are gorgeous. Thank you so much.
Nothing like children's artwork.
Absolutely.
Matthew?
Matthew?
Oh, my goodness. Hope some kids are listening. Thank you so much. It'll be a
Yes.
treasured place on our wall. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Oh,
Oh, nice. What a beautiful
They
idea.
all are
James is over here as
so,
well.
So Jay, Bev, and Andrea, yours are here.
and so is Rita's. We've got hers
Rita's.
here too. Yep.
Okay, great.
So thank you, board members. We so appreciate you, and so do our children.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Labors of love.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to move on to the comments from citizens. And this is the portion of the agenda where the board welcomes comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to Groton. Board members will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and cannot respond during the comments of citizen portion of the board meeting. Citizens should make their presentations from the podium. Well, not true. And state their names and addresses for the record. Hopefully that will change as well. If there is someone who is on hybrid version, if you, Mike, hi, Mike, how are you?
Good.
You're either being very friendly and waving or that you would like to speak.
Yeah, I'd like to speak. It's a quick one, hopefully.
Okay, great. I think you can go.
Okay, thank you. And I sent this by email just like an hour or two ago. So at the end of last week, I received word from a guidance counselor that Fitch is not offering honors string orchestra next year. It's offered this year concurrently with string orchestra. It was an option in the class registration system up to about a week ago, but now students can't register for it. So can you please find out the reason and communicate it publicly? I also will follow up with a school, but I wanted to register this as a public comment for tonight's meeting. There are 2 honors options for choir students and 1 honors option for band students. I don't understand why orchestra students won't have that option. It'll put orchestra students at a competitive disadvantage relative to chorus and band students in terms of course offerings and in class rankings because honors classes receive additional weighting. More importantly, having an honors string orchestra is key to fully supporting musical talent. The class is also a key part of the career cluster classes at Fitch, and it's still listed on that part of the website. So please restore the honors string orchestra class as an offering for next year and for future years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
No, we're gonna make sure that we're still at the citizens portion. Is there anyone else here? Yeah,
I'm actually here as a parent tonight, so I'm very excited to do that. I'm reading a note actually from the band director. She is at our winter percussion rehearsal, so she's unable to be here.
can you just do me a favor? I know who
Sure.
you are, but can you please say your name? and
Absolutely,
your address?
Christina Post, and I live at Daniel Bond Drive in Mystic.
Thank you.
Excuse me,
I don't
are
know.
they able to hear her because she's away from the mic?
You might
Do
need
you want
to
me to
get a
come
little
closer?
bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to stay off camera.
No,
So you're saying.
You're okay?
You're
Okay,
not
good.
off to the side, but-
So this is on Andrea's behalf. It says, I want to thank all of you for considering our request to attend the music festival in Honolulu, Hawaii. One of my goals for the FHS Music Department is to provide memorable and educational experiences for the students that will stay with them for a lifetime. The trip to Honolulu, Hawaii would provide an opportunity for the students in the music department they would never forget. Through their participation in the music festival, our students would receive feedback and critique from professional local musicians, be exposed to local music, and have the opportunity to hear bands from around the world who will also be participating. As a military community ourselves, the most exciting aspect is the opportunity to not only visit Pearl Harbor, but also perform a concert at Pearl Harbor Memorial in front of the USS Arizona. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity I would hate for our students to miss. This trip was chosen because it would be an all-inclusive for the entire music department, not just a few ensembles. Our students are hardworking and dedicated to their craft and would greatly benefit from this experience. We have the backing and support from our entire group of parents and boosters who are committed to assisting in fundraising throughout the entire year to ensure any student who wishes to go has that opportunity. Thank you for your dedication to our students and for considering this request. Sincerely, Andrea Shabazian, FHS Band Director. And I gave a copy to the superintendent. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
We haven't had a field trip like this in a long time.
No.
Not since they went to England.
All right.
Are there any other comments? Is there anyone else online? All right, hearing none, I will, I'm going to end the citizen portion part of our agenda. And it seems that maybe Susan, or excuse me, Superintendent Austin might have an answer to Mike Whitney's question.
Thank you for sharing your concern ahead of time, Mr. Whitney. I called over to the high school and Aaron McGuire, who is really overseeing counseling, had said that there will be an honors portion for that particular group of kids who are doing the orchestra. I think they're being told to sign up for the orchestra and that they'll be working with the teacher to decide. I guess there's extra workload with the honors is what I'm told, so that they want the kids to understand what is involved in the course, so that then they'll be able to figure out who wants to go for the honors portion and who wants to stay in the regular. So that will be happening. I'm not so sure when. I don't know. I see Principal Kelleher here, but we can get that information out.
I don't sure when, I'm not sure when either. To be
Okay.
honest with you, I don't know what the timeline is for that. My understanding though is that we will be running the honor string.
Right. So there will be an honor string orchestra. So we'll make sure that the counselors get that information accurately to the students so they don't worry about it, and get the delineation of what's the difference between the two.
Mike, thank you for your partnership with us around that.
Yeah, and thank you for the quick answer. Now I'm excited about Honolulu.
Yeah. Don't you want to go? Oh, they don't know yet.
Oh, so the kids don't know yet.
Till we vote.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Our next portion,
I have a question.
oh, yes.
Did I miss when they were gonna go? What's the proposed date for them to go to?
Part of the
Honolulu?
board.
It's part of the board agenda item, so you can save that for them. All right. I'm going to move us to, do we have any student representatives? I don't see them here. Do we have them online, Ms. Joan?
I don't believe we do.
No,
I didn't
we
sound.
did remind them, but I know they're getting busy. You did speak to both of them?
I did personally.
Okay.
Okay. once again, that is another thing that I am looking forward to being able to do, see them in person, because I think it's such a different experience for all of us. All right, so since they are not here to give us a report, I am going to be moving us along to the superintendent and administration reports, and I'm going to first pass this over to Superintendent Austin.
Well, I'd like to inform our community that we have been partnering with our friends next door, Grosso Tech High School. So Fitch High School and Grosso Tech have been really partnering in so many ways. About 2 weeks ago, I saw the percussion perform, and it was our band director with their band director and the kids from Grosso and Fitch High School, and also Marine Science. Marine Science also is up in partnership in so many things that we do. So we like being able to kind of cast our net wide and invite other students that are from Groton to participate. They also participate and work with us in the robotics team. And the thing that I think, and fields, we're looking at fields together. So we're sharing some of our fields. They plan on sharing some of theirs. And for our community, fields are just something that we're always looking for. So if we can share our fields, I think that's a really good thing. One of the things that I was made aware of last year when we took a tour to Grosso, and it's quite an amazing school, was all the different manufacturing, career pipelines, the pipelines for marine science, for culinary, automotive. They have so many opportunities for kids who go there. And one of the things that the tech schools are doing are they're partnering with the schools, the neighboring high schools, public high schools, and they're going to be offering next year a course on digital media and broadcasting. And for our students who've come from Groton Middle School with the green screen and had those kind of opportunities in their career pathways, it's awesome for them to have this opportunity as well. It would be after school, so they would get additional credits that they can work into their program of studies. And we'll be getting more information out there to the students. I see Principal Kelleher shaking your head. Is there anything else that you can think of that I've missed as far as partnership? But the two principals have come together.
No, I think it's, I mean, obviously our close proximity as part of our campus, you know, to be able to bring them in as well and to look at ways that we can partner. And, you know, I think they're interested in some of the things that we can offer as well. So I think it's something that, you know, it's only going to make us a stronger community, and I fully support. You know, this is something that currently we don't offer. And so if we can give our students the opportunity to go over there and use the facilities and gain another experience, I think it'd be great for some of our 11th and 12th graders to be able to do that.
So that's our partnership, a growing partnership, and also with Learn's Marine Science School as well.
Do you have any comments or questions from the board?
I have a question.
Please.
There's of course, the Grosso Tech is a state school, and of course, we're public school for locale. Is there any is there any issue about connecting with us with the two different schools? I mean, between across the state versus the local area? I mean, is there any pushback? Is there anything that we can't meld? Is there?
Well, I don't
understand what I'm trying to get at.
I think these are new beginnings. I heard when Secretary Cardona was in town and visiting Thames River and then Grosso, he really spoke to wanting to open the gates a little bit and not to have so many silos. And fortunately, when our children go to Grosso, that's not an extra cost to the district.
Right.
And it's an extra opportunity for our students. So that's how I see it. And all of the other inter-district magnets or other opportunities that our students have, we're really rich in opportunities in Southeastern Connecticut. And I think that if it's good for students, it's good for me. And even though we pay for inter-district, we now have intra-districts in our district. So I think, long story short, I think we're opening our arms a little bit to be able to benefit our students instead of saying this is only for Fitch and this is only for Grosso.
This has been piloted and with other tech schools as well. I'm not exactly sure which ones, but as we've talked and said that, you know, other tech schools have opened their doors And yeah, about 5 years ago, this is something I never would have imagined, you know, the
Right.
tech schools were kind of
Yeah.
the state, and we were, you know, but now they're really trying to open up and say, you know, these are some opportunities that could be offered for some of your students. You know, marine science students that wanted to come over and try the broadcasting, Pitch students wanted to come over and try the broadcasting. It's something where they, you know, we kind of dip our toes in it and slowly open it up. And also with, you know, some of their students coming to us, that's a possibility as well. So I think it's something that, you know, we'll start out with something that we don't have at the high school, we can offer it to our students, and maybe if we get a few students that are interested, 5, 10, whatever it might be, it's certainly a very easy commute. To get over there, so I think that, you know, whatever we could do to kind of start it out, and see how it works, and then hopefully expand it going forward.
Great, thank you.
That's kind of like what the percussion team, right? The
Mhm.
Grosso and
Yeah.
the Fitch.
Right.
And some of the Grosso students actually marched in the parade with us yesterday.
Yay.
They were in Fitch colors.
Yep.
And they were part of the drum line, walking down Main Street in Mystic.
That's great. Yeah, collaboration can work. We can play in
Yeah.
each other's sandbox.
We can play together.
That's right. All right. I don't see any other questions or comments, so I'm going to be moving us on. I am going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Piazza.
Thank you. Yep, I'm Phil Piazza, the Assistant Superintendent. I, along with Tom Lonsdale, our Student Data Manager, will walk you through two very important areas that we've been looking at, we've been discussing as a board, and we just dove in a little bit deeper. The first part of our presentation will be a summary of the World Language Survey that recently went out to our town parents and our students. The second part is a deeper dive answering some of the questions that the board brought up after we looked at our discipline data from earlier this school year. So in the efforts of time, I'd like to kind of go through all the slides on the world language, go right through them, and then have sort of a question and answer session at the end of that, and then move on to the discipline, just so we don't get stuck on any one particular slide. So to start things off, the slides you're seeing on the screen, one of the first questions we asked was, if not English, which languages are being spoken in the homes of our students? And the results that we showed, or that we found, were a variety of different languages. And you can see their rankings on this slide. In particular, from the top language being Spanish, all the way down, and you can see the variety of languages spoken in the homes of our Groton students, and Greek being the 32nd out of all of them. So really this, I think this highlights something that we did know about our district and how diverse our district was, but it was still eye-opening as well to see such diversity throughout the community. So that does give us some information, not only on what we want to do in our schools, but also how we want to improve communication with our families in Groton. We asked our question of our parents. We asked our parents of our pre-K through 4, as well as our grades 5 through 11, as to what would they like to have their students learn a new language. And as you can see here, tremendous percentage in the positive that they would, 94% pre-K 4 and just under 93% in 5 through 11. So obviously there's a need, there's a desire for our students to continue to learn new languages. Then of course, the next logical question would be, what languages would your student be interested in learning? So again, we had our parents answer for our pre-K through 4 students. We asked our parents, and you'll see students on the next slide, of our grades 5 through 11, as to what they desired, to be taught in our schools. We continue to have these conversations with our building principals and our world language department teachers as to what we could offer, what we want to offer our students. And of course, a valuable part of a valuable factor in determining that is, what do our students want? What does our community want?
Can you explain how they were able to choose all the choices that they wanted? So that made it even more interesting.
As you can see, these percentages do not add up to 100. So that we did let people choose as many as they wanted, to choose as many as they were interested. So this does represent the percentages of languages that were chosen across the district. You can see Spanish being number one on both levels, as well. You can really see some continuity actually across as you look through it. American Sign Language, and I can at least note, we had a comment section in that people seemed most excited about the possibility of that being an offering. As we move forward to the next slide, it shows our students, grades 5 through 11. Which language are they currently learning in school? Again, they can choose all that apply if they're learning more than one. And then which languages would you be interested in studying in the future? And again, they were told that they can choose as many as they would like. So again, we see the popularity of the Spanish language as well as American Sign Language among the students. So these are all, again, this is just another way to gather information, see what we want to continue offering. That helps us continue our conversation about staffing, about scheduling, and about looking at how we can have a continuum of language services from hopefully someday our elementary schools all the way up through our high schools. And I think that was the last slide for language. So I think we, if it's okay with you, Ms.
Yeah.
Watson, if anybody had any questions based on this, we could open that up now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to,
See the people again.
yeah.
Can you stop sharing it? And then. we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Thank you for making it much more easier for me. Thank you, Susan. Is there any questions from the board about this? Oh, Dean,
Sorry.
you're right in front of me and I didn't see.
Sometimes it's what's right in front of you, that you don't see.
Oh, that sounds really
It's very
deep.
deep and very Chauncey Gardner. So the question says languages spoken at home. I want to make sure I understood. The question was what language is spoken instead of English or in addition to English?
So,
Yeah.
so the way it was asked, the way that's reported there, is that would be the primary language at home.
Primary, so English could also be spoken, but the respondents considered these other languages to be the primary.
Yep.
Okay. The reason why I asked that is because I grew up in a home that's not counting the Yiddish spoken next door. It was a situation where my mother spoke Greek to us, we responded in English probably. My father spoke English to us, and he was angry, he spoke Greek. A lot of the other adults spoke one or the other. A lot of times it was half one, half the other. We did not distinguish really between the two, especially when we were very young. It was sort of a continuum because you're communicating and you're being communicated with. So that was sort of the goal and more focus on the language aspect. Naturally, as we got older, we recognized that they're two separate languages and you can do a full combo in one or the other, sort of a thing. And I imagine, I'm projecting, I imagine that's the experience of a lot of people who are reporting these languages, that there may be some homes where only these languages are spoken, or they're primarily spoken, or it's a mix. I don't know how that would inform any decisions we make as to how to communicate with people. So, Arabic is number 3. Can you assume that you're dealing with purely Arabic-speaking homes as opposed to homes where grandma speaks in Arabic, but pretty much everything is done in English otherwise? The kids may report, these kids or adults reporting?
This is adults.
Adults are reporting that something is the primary.
Correct.
Okay, because the kids' view, all due respect to kids, we are all little kids, the kids' view can sometimes be skewed.
And Dean, the question was phrased as what languages do you speak at home?
At home.
What language, parentheses, S languages,
Okay, and that was,
do you speak at home?
and that was understood to mean other than English, because English obviously is on the list. Do you have any idea of what the count is? So,
We do, and I did follow that up because that was sent to me personally in an email from one of the board members as to getting the counts. I didn't have time to put it in the presentation, so we'll get those out to everyone. The number of parents who responded to the survey was 464. I'm sorry, that was the 511 parents. So totally combined pre-K through 11, it was 904.
That's good.
But on that list specifically, sorry, that list pulls out of what parents refer to as the registration. So that's the official kind of that list.
Now, do we plan to do something like what you see with Medicare summaries? You get this long sheet that has everything in every conceivable language, kind of what flags are flying from the UN kind of a thing, or, you know, what, other than, because it's very common, obviously, these days, has been common for some decades, press 1 for English and 2 for Spanish kind of thing. You know, I get to see German for good reason, because we don't have that many German immigrants anymore. But you know, so are we looking at gathering this data and then using it to try to put messages out in Tagalog or Urdu or what's the purpose of getting all these numbers other than it looks fun?
So I know Phil has the exact breakdown. The vast majority of our kind of families who speak a second language as their primary language would be Spanish. It's 290 something.
240.
240.
Yeah, that-
And we've been
Um,
designated as a bilingual school district
Yep.
because of the numbers.
Absolutely,
of
but
students.
after that, it does drop exponentially. So I think our third is Mandarin, and it's, what is the Mandarin?
It's a distant third.
I just 20. So it's a really drastic drop. So we did at one point think about building out, for example, our registration portal in Mandarin. But there just weren't enough families really to support
To
the
justify that.
additional cost. That being said, we have built a website now currently, some of the ways that we're building documents and they can be translated, to Google Translate. So we are.
With
conscious
all
of that.
languages.
Yeah,
that we
absolutely.
have.
Yeah, they can be translated to any language. So we're conscious of trying to make our forms and everything accessible.
We also have a translation program that we work with so that translators can attend PPTs, even if it's over the phone, and translate into different languages that our parents might have.
There's another phenomenon, let it go. There's another phenomenon where you have, for example, parents who are from another country do have a primary language they speak, but for various reasons insist on using English, however bad their English might be in the household, they insist on using English with their kids as a conscious process of acculturation. I have seen that. So,
Mhm.
Thank you.
thank you.
No, thank you, Dean.
I did have one
No.
other question to ask Bill that I hadn't asked in the email. We talk about the number of languages spoken, but if, I'll pick a language that isn't there, I'll use German, because I don't want to pick any language. If we say there are 11 people speaking German, how many households does that represent? And is that a useful differentiation to make? And I don't need an answer now, it's just a question for your consideration.
But there is definitely overlap in terms of, so for example, that count of 236, if there's multiple children registered to that same family, they would have gotten covered twice. You're absolutely correct. That's-
I'm not sure how that helps us in planning our teaching, whether it's tutoring or however it's done. I mean, if we're doing tutoring and we can coalesce 5 kids from the same family, that might be helpful. But you know, give some thought on that and share that later.
Sure. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
I have one quick one.
I'm going to do Liz first and then Dean, I'll go to you.
I know we're looking at these numbers or we've done this survey because one of the things we want to see is are our language offerings net, consistent with the needs of the community. But have we asked also, if we looked at what the universities and colleges have said, these are the languages, for example, if you're going into medicine, Latin is extremely important. So have we looked at that? Has that been something that we've just also, and I know this is just the beginning, but for different career clusters, what language would be the most, beneficial for your child to take if they're in a specific career path? Like my daughter went through into nursing and took Spanish all the way through. The Spanish has been good for her when she's communicating with patients that don't have much English. But the reality is that she had to learn a lot of on her own. And so I'm just wondering if we're encouraging, we're looking at that aspect of career clusters.
I also think that the reason why we're doing this language survey is because we are looking at applying for a grant, a world language.
Right.
And so we're also looking for that as well, too. But I think your question about, is there work around, if we're going to be offering some ideas around engineering, is
Right.
there a language that would make the most sense for them to be part of?
Yeah, that
what
could
have you.
definitely be something that we take some more steps into looking at. Speaking personally as someone who just went through the college process, I could speak to the fact that they do care about languages. They didn't seem to care, and I think, again, this is all personal with myself. We looked at a variety of different schools, variety of different levels, in a variety of different states. And they all seem to want to know how much of a language they took,
Right.
whether it was 3 years, whether it was 4 years, not necessarily the language that was
type of
taken, the type of
Okay.
language. But again, I think that's definitely something worth looking into.
And I think you had mentioned this, Phil, before, that it used to be that with SATs, Latin was very helpful, the way that the SAT test was designed, but not so much anymore.
Well,
Or an SAT.
it's a common, you learn word roots, and again, that can be done in any language, not just Latin. But that was commonly, I think, a lot of kids took that language in high school in order to prep for the SATs, which we know, which we've seen, whether it was COVID driven or not, more schools moved away from in terms of admittance requirements. Now, whether or not schools are going to go back to that, we're going to see. But that seemed, over the last couple of years, that seemed to be less of a priority, the SATs. But we'll have to keep an eye on that to see where it goes.
Dean?
Yeah, I had a comment, but now I'm scotched out. Go to, well, maybe another comment, and that is this. Feeding off of what Liz said. One step is to ask people, what's going on? What are you interested in? But there's another step that I think very often schools and frankly other organizations are afraid to take, and that is to think on their own. Well, what would we say? That sounds very imperious to say this. What would we say would be a good language program? Thank you for your input, the public and kids and parents and all that. And we're going to keep that in mind as we design what we think of as a useful language curriculum. And I'm ignoring the reality that you can't just find whatever teachers you need anywhere you want. Spanish teachers are somewhat more plentiful, simply because of the hemisphere that we're in, and historically, et cetera. But if you say, well, we got to have a greater, more offerings of German to train people for working with the EU, for example, with German. It's a big language other than French and English. I'd say good luck finding a German teacher these days. It was sort of waning when I took German. So, but leaving that aside, we probably shouldn't be afraid to look into what would we say, having consulted on our education and research, what would we say would be a good, competent, useful language program that may or may not coincide with what people say that they want. So maybe Arabic is number 7. Maybe we decide that, given the world's realities, Arabic ought to be number 3. We should put a big effort into finding more Arabic. And then the question becomes, which Arabic?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that's going to be even more driven if we get the grant that does world languages, that gets embedded in our school system. So I think
let's
that
not
is.
be afraid to come up with our own ideas.
Can I add one other thing, Dean? We've talked about it in my networking group with superintendents through the Learn Southeastern Connecticut region. And we're always looking for Learn to host some of these things that would be beneficial for all districts. And world languages are some of those things, that there could be kids, a group of kids in Southeastern Connecticut that absolutely want to continue taking Latin or Arabic or Mandarin Chinese. And then through a rest, you could provide that teaching opportunity. So we're still working on what would that look like? How would that be? How would we host it? And they might have to do a more deliberate, very, detailed survey for our students to really figure out what are those languages that, and maybe work with the universities to say, what are some of those languages that really would help students in different career pathways? So you guys have brought up a couple good points that I'll take back to my colleagues to talk about.
One more comment, I'm sorry. It's okay. I've never seen this certainly at the primary, it's usually not at the secondary level, you may see this at college. Right? That is a survey course, so a student is offered the opportunity, not necessarily to learn a language, but learn about languages, because people either have taken or they haven't taken. And there's no twilight zone, no in between where people say, well, I never took Russian and I don't want to take Russian, but I wouldn't mind learning something about Slavic languages. What are they about? Or what is Arabic, or what is whatever, so that people have they're a little more cultured, I think, and they realize just where Farsi fits into the picture, spoken in Iran, by the way, and so on. So they don't have to learn Farsi, but they know something about Farsi and where it fits into things. That's a tall order. I think you have to find a teacher and a space and schedule to offer that, but I personally would love that.
So we've talked about the carousel model that typically starts in 6th grade, and having that start in elementary should we get this grant. And maybe you carousel the Spanish and French and sign language in some fashion, or maybe you carousel other ideas. But then it would really ready our students when they become middle schoolers to take our level tiered instruction and we really have a goal of wanting to have more students have the opportunity for the seal of biliteracy and to be able to say, I have at least two languages that I'm leaving Fitch High School and I'm confident in. And then get a plane and travel.
But it also just feels like what Dean was having to say, and Matthew, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Is the whole concept of learning, right?
Yeah.
And just the whole concept of how do you embed IB learning into the curriculum, and that feels like that fits right into that.
Hearing Kim say that part of the reason for doing this is that we're interested in applying for a grant opens up a whole bunch of other questions that I think might be useful if we do another iteration of the survey. First of all, I love the carousel idea. That's a terrific idea. I think also history of the English language. I mean, just a 3 or 4 classes on where does English derive from and what is its richness, that could incite somebody to be interested in one or another of the languages. And finally, on this question, I would not have asked this question if it were not for a grant, but I'd like to know why. Why did they choose this? What do we learn from that simple question, why? Because when I've done instruments, I've had people choose a 1 and a 7 on a Likert scale, they get the same answer. Until you ask why, we don't know. And I think that'd be a really good question.
Any other questions? If not, let's move on.
The next part is our discipline data, which we had been asked to disaggregate a little bit further. So I'll let Tom Lonsdale sort of take us through this. Go ahead.
I'm a little closer because Jay said he couldn't hear me.
Looks like stair steps.
Yeah. Jay, I hope you can hear me now. Sorry? No, I think this is close enough. We're fine. So one of the specific questions that was asked last time was, what was the average length of our suspensions, ISS and OSS? So each of the lines here, I know there's a lot of them, they represent individual suspensions, both ISS and OSS. And you can see the vast majority of our suspensions are 2 days or less, right? So the actual average for an ISS was 1.3 days. The average for an OSS was 2.8 days. So I know one of the questions is asked, are there suspensions 10 days that are 10 days long or even longer? We do have a few, and the vast majority of those are kind of for physical altercations or fights. But as you
Towards expulsion.
or towards expulsion, pending expulsion. But you can see the vast majority of these are for lesser amounts. I think just like Bill had said before, we're going to try to go through all these slides and then come back for questions on each of them. Sorry. Another question that was asked, and we shared this with Kim beforehand, we've looked at a bunch of different ways to kind of disaggregate some of the suspension data. This is looking at the number of incidents for special education status. So as you can see on the left, those are incidents involving non-special education students, and on the right, incidents involving special education students. For reference, the special education population of our secondary enrollment, so both GMS and Fitch, is 17.3%. And also to be clear, these incidences aggregated for GMS and Fitch together. So we did not split those this time.
So only 17% of the population, however, you see that bar graph nearly matches or is like 200 out of 275 or something like that.
Yeah, we're-
So
Isn't it 475? It'd be 200 plus 275?
447.
447.
Very similar setup, but instead of looking at special education status as the factor we're disaggregating by, this is by lunch status. So on the left, you have students who are either free, receive either free or reduced lunch. On the right, students who are full pay, so not eligible. For reference, our current, so as of, when did we pull this? Friday, I believe. So as of Friday, the free and reduced lunch population of GMS and Fitch combined was 42.8%.
we have been as high as 50%, I think.
That's correct. Yep.
But our numbers have shifted a little bit. So if it were a 50%, you kind of expect to see about the same amount of incidents, and we're really off.
Yep.
So it's something to take a closer look at.
Absolutely. So there's actually two different things being shown in this graph. So on the one hand, we've disaggregated by race and ethnicity. It also disaggregates by gender. So kind of two different ways to look at this depending on which axis you're looking at. So across the bottom here, you'll see it's disaggregated. Each column is a race or ethnic group. And then within the columns themselves, the blue represents male students, pink represents female students, and the yellow you'll see up here at the top are students who recognize themselves as non-binary.
Can you go over each of those just so everybody can hear and see it clearly? It's a little
Yeah.
hard for me to read.
Yep, absolutely. So you'll see here in Asian population, they represent approximately 6% of our student enrollment at the secondary level. They have roughly 10 incidents. You have Black or African American population that represents 7.7 to almost 8% of our population. About 100 incidents, so a little under a quarter, about 20% of our total incidents up until that would have been up until February 28th. Hispanic Latino population, about a quarter of our student enrollment at the secondary level, represent about 150 out of 440 of our incidents. Our American Indian and Alaska Native population, it's only 1% of our student enrollment. I believe they have about 6 was the total incidents reported. For our students who identify with 2 or more races, so that's the 2 or more races that they're, it's not kind of one ranked over the other, it's just if you identify with 2 or more races simultaneously. That represents about 12% of our student body at the secondary level. And as you can see, they have about 75 incidents. Our Native Hawaiian and our other Pacific Islander population, less than 10 total incidents, and that represents about 0.5% of our population. And then our population who identifies as white, that's about half of our student body. And they had, I would say about 35% of our in total incidents reported during that time period.
And you can see the blue for boys and the pink for girls. You know, the boys are, you know, receiving more of the discipline. And, you know, than the girls are.
So one of the questions Katrina asked the last time we looked at this, I believe it was you, Katrina, was asking kind of the frequency at which these incidents are happening on an individual student level basis. So in this graph, each bar represents individual students. So an individual student in this case would have only received 1 incident or infraction during that time period. Whereas you move across, this student, for example, would have received 2 all the way up to the max, which was 10 separate incidents coded as state reporting system. So you can see it's an exponential curve. So you have very few students who are receiving 10 infractions. The vast majority are receiving 1 or 2 infractions. We also wanted to start looking at trends in terms of how often were incidents happening and how they were kind of progressing throughout the year. So I did track kind of over every single day how many incidents were occurring, and you can see really large variation throughout that. It's a little difficult to read, so we did try to disaggregate a little differently, but we wanted to look and see if we could glean any trends from here. You know, Susan and I were joking, we were thinking maybe it was full moons or Fridays or something like that, that would glean some information here, but I can tell you the lunar calendar does not connect to this whatsoever.
I said
we
those
really tried.
Fridays, those are full moons. And then
Yep.
I said those high days, are they Mondays and Fridays?
Yep.
But no, I was
No.
not good at my predicting.
Nothing to do with the moons, unfortunately. I did disaggregate also by days of the week. I think my assumption going in would have been that Fridays would have been a tough day, or maybe Mondays. It turns out so far this year, Wednesdays have been the day with the most infractions. And then lastly, we wanted to look at a month by month trend. Obviously, we haven't got March in the books yet, so we didn't include March on this yet. We had kind of a noticeable uptick September, October, November, and then we are seeing slight declines across the district for the last couple of months. January and February actually being exactly equal, even though their days are different, the exact number of infractions were in that month. So we are hopefully seeing a bit of a plateau, maybe a decline heading into March. Any questions? I know we went through a lot of different slides. I'm happy to go back through them, but I will stop sharing so that Kim can see the.
Oh, I fixed it.
You fixed it, okay.
I'm so excited. All right, questions, Matthew?
Somebody else wants to go first? that's
No,
fine.
Matthew, it's fine.
Okay, I was particularly concerned with the special education slide.
Mhm.
And the question in my mind is, what can we glean from this that could be useful to us to reduce the incident? And when I looked at the statistics, it did not indicate, your reference was special education is 17.3% of secondary. What I don't know was whether the 477 was all secondary.
Yes.
Or it
Yes.
was all secondary, okay.
is.
So we have 42% of the incidents are with special education students.
Which is only 17% of the population.
Which is only
That
17. So
right, a
uh,
concern.
I looked at, I turned this prism a little bit differently. And it says that a special education student is 250% more likely to end up having an incident. And the question from that you could ask why, but I'm sure there are a lot of different reasons, but I have no answer. What can we glean from this ratio of occurrence that can help us decide how we want to mitigate? We're not going to eliminate it, but mitigate this rate of incidence. And if you have an answer, that's great. If not, it's just something to help.
Well, I mean, I think it starts with conversations at the building level, with the building's leadership team, the special ed department, the counselors that are working with these students, the paraprofessionals who are working with these students, and the special ed teachers. And really building the capacity, not only in the student, but in the staff as well, to talk about how we can meet their needs better, how we can prevent these things from happening.
I think you have a great idea. I look forward to hearing some feedback in a couple of months.
Great.
Matthew, I'll also say none of the trends displayed here are unique to Groton. All of these trends mirror exactly what the state of Connecticut is seeing at the moment.
I have no doubt, but I can't control what happens in Boise or Boise. We can only try to help here.
Okay.
And I would also say that we have programs, Matthew, in our school districts that probably were not in school districts even 10, 20 years ago. So that we really try to keep all of our kids in districts. So we have specialized programs that help children who have behavioral and IEPs around emotional disability. So those students are all serviced in our schools too.
I applaud what our district has done, and the former board members before I came on. They've done a great job. My only goal is to pursue perfection, even as I know we'll never achieve it, just to pursue it.
Right, right.
I'm gonna recognize Andrea and then Katrina and then Dean. Andrea, you are muted.
I know.
No, you're
Thank
not.
you. I'm assuming that these are not suspensions. So can you define exactly what an infraction might be?
Yes. Oh, there she is. Andrea, sorry, you disappeared from our screen for a second. These are suspensions. So these are in school and out of school suspensions.
Thank you.
Katrina?
My first question is the chart you have up there.
Mhm.
Are these behaviors above and beyond what are addressed in the IEPs?
Sorry, can you say that again?
are these behaviors that are being students are getting suspended for, are they above and beyond the IEP behaviors or that are identified in those in the IEP?
I would assume they have to be, because if they were not, if the behaviors were something that was outlined in the IEP, it would have been a manifestation of the IEP, right? And then they wouldn't have been suspended in this case.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then I thought we had all our students were free lunch.
So, yes, let me clarify that. So in this case, so this year, due to changes in federal guidelines, all of our students do receive free and reduced lunch. That being said, it does not mean that every student is eligible per kind of the typical guidelines that we would see. So, for example, I might not qualify based on income, right, for receiving free and reduced lunch, but this year, due to the special waiver from federal government, every student is getting free lunch.
If they would like.
So how did you
If they
come
would
up
like.
with these numbers?
Because the state of Connecticut does still track free and reduced lunch status eligibility. So we are still able to see that over time. For the same reason why if the federal government decided to roll that back tomorrow, right,
Yeah.
we would still be able to give students free and reduced lunch who are eligible.
Okay. I kind of looked at this. I was curious about how many days a month do you have without an incident? And it's real low. I mean, it goes from 1 to 4, 1, 4, 2, 2. So
Now, these are both our schools with 1,000 students each. And so there's usually something that happens, you know, in a classroom, and it could be something that a student was rude to a teacher or something, there was a conflict. So, you know, and I guess, Ted, you could tell us some of those things for the one-day ISSs that would occur, since 1 and 2 were the most that would happen.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a repeated offense.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something where, you know, it's you know, the students just violating the school policy in some way. So we have a chart that we go by that, you know, kind of leads us to, you know, what type of discipline a student should be receiving. I think that I can speak for the entire administrative team. The goal is for the student to get a consequence for their actions, but there's also the goal to make sure that we are repairing whatever damage occurred because of the behavior. So, because the suspension doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
It does not. And then how can we also get the student back into the educational environment as quickly as possible? We try to limit the number of days of suspension as much as possible. You know, we try to make sure that it's fair, but at the same time, you know, the kids need to be back in the classroom at some point. Now, if there is a conflict, when I spoke about the repairing the damage, if there's a conflict that a student has in the classroom, oftentimes we're going to make sure that that student is meeting with the teacher before they re-enter the classroom. Because we don't want to have the suspension and then the next day they go right back in the classroom. We just have the conflict all over. So that's part of the restorative practice piece. So there's a lot that goes into it, and we don't take it lightly at all. Any suspension, even in school, it's a 1 day in school, it's a serious matter. But we want to make sure that we're always following those process and procedures as much as possible.
I think if it's possible, could you send that chart to us?
Yeah, it's part of the student handbook. And I can see if I can just get a copy for you.
You had also said the last time, or whoever, the last time we had a discipline presentation, there was, I think, 5 of the top disciplines. Could we have the list?
Yes, sorry, we did not. forward
Because
that.
just with those 5, I mean, that's pretty scary. These numbers, if it was just those 5, I'm curious what else there is.
Yeah,
There's 200 per the state, 200 and
yeah, it's
something.
21 pages. I will send that. I
Yeah,
will
I'm
also
curious.
say, I will also say on here too, there are days with 0 incidents on within this. I just kind of filtered all of them out because the width of this thing got so large, nobody would be able to see the columns. So there are days in here with 0s. I just want to be very clear.
So September not necessarily has only 4 discipline-free days. There's more than are.
There could be, and for example, I filtered out weekends because I didn't want there to be 2
Well,
blanks
duh.
every 7 days.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I've just taken all the 0s out and kind of condensed it so everybody could see kind of the variation. Yep.
Okay, so it is actually 4. Okay.
Anything else?
Yep. I think that's it.
Okay, thanks. So I'm gonna recognize Dean and then Beverly.
Okay, we've divided up in the pink chart, special ed versus non-special ed. And special ed is a huge mosaic of different categories. And so you have that in this block, and then we also have incidents. So the incidents could be just plain old disrespect to serious physical altercation. So what's going on in here when we break this out, we say, well, we have 17% of our population comprised of, as I said, this mosaic of identified conditions. And they're involved in just over 200 of the, almost half, say, or not quite half of the incidents. Well, what are they? So we mean to address the issue, but who are we addressing? Who are we going to, and what are we going after? Are we talking about serious incidents where people are just losing control, or people just not being very mindful of their classroom, their classmates and teachers, or what is it? That would be more useful for me. That would also be a denser picture, I know, but I'd be curious to know just exactly what we're talking about here by incident and what's meant by special education.
Bev, you took your hand down.
Am I next?
Yes.
Okay. This question is for Susan. Susan, what does this information show you or tell you, and where do we go from here?
Beverly, it shows me that we have a problem. It shows me that we need to meet with our schools to really examine what the problem is and the significance, and how are we going to make sure that we do a better job proactively with our kids. So we know that this year has kind of been a turbulent year, and that students, I've heard over and over again that students have gone from like a 0 to 10 in a split second, that they're really relearning how to cope with a larger population around them. They've been at home, they haven't had as many things to have to deal with at the same time. And so we have a lot of social emotional learning programs that we've put in place with our counselors, our social workers, even our classroom teachers. A lot of stories that go a long way. A story is a powerful thing, and writing is a powerful tool for students to express themselves, and just even circling around and talking. So we've been going to some of our groups of students. I go to More Than Words with the kids. I've gone a few times now to just listen to what the students are saying, because that's also probably the most powerful tool, is to hear from our students how things are going and what we need to do it better. So, so that we're not so reactionary. So this shows that there is a problem. We've also talked about going back to data prior to COVID to see. And surprising, we saw some of the same similar expulsion data. I thought we were further ahead because I just have felt that I've met, too many kids for this year, even though there were 8. And I'm trying to get them back in school as fast as we can and do the restorative justice piece when they come back. So, so there's more work to be done, Beverly, for sure. And we'll definitely come back to you and share some of the work of the district. You don't see elementary in here. Elementary tends not to fill it in Power School, and they tend to be working on it on a daily basis. They don't have as many in school and out of school suspensions. They work on it more, in a counseling way with the kids. And so, I think as a whole admin council, it's a great topic to share with administration across the district to get everybody's insight.
Well, I'm glad to hear, Susan, that you did look at data prior to the pandemic. And I hear you saying that you see some of the same similar incidents.
Some, but I think more of them in many
Okay.
cases. Maybe not in expulsion, but we definitely see more out of school and in school suspensions than we did in 2019.
Okay. Is bullying part of the incidents that is reported in this presentation?
It can absolutely be part of it.
Okay.
You know, and is, you know, whether it's bullying on the bus, bullying on social media. We just had a Scott Driscoll from the FBI come and talk to all of our kids, middle school and high school, about that kind of thing, and parents. So it definitely would be represented in these charts.
Okay. Well, thank you, Susan.
All right, if there's no more questions about this data, I'm gonna move us along. Phil and team, thank you. That you did a nice job at coming back and giving us the stuff that we wanted. Thank you so much. And so I'm moving it over to the business manager. Ken, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I am going over attachment number 2. I'm not gonna project it unless you want me to, but everyone should have a copy of it. Yeah.
No, I think you can, I think we do have a copy.
Okay. So per attachment number 2, we are projecting an unexpended year-end balance of 131,546. This is, as in previous reports, this is primarily driven by some savings in salaries, out-of-district special education costs being less than budget, but it's offset by some increased costs, specifically severance benefits and purchase services fees that are driving it the other way.
Is this typical of what we have at this time of year?
Yeah. This is, it follows pretty much. Yeah, I think last year we were in a better position. There was more unexpended projected, but we still think we're going to end up the year under budget at this point.
That's where we want it,
That's where we want it.
or just there, with a little wiggle room.
Any questions about the object code? Katrina?
Can you just elaborate on purchase services, why it's
Yeah, so purchase services, so these are services that we go to the outside to get, it's not by employees. In particular, we have in this, we purchased services for a study of the field house that was unbudgeted, as well as we are using some additional consulting services in our IT department to help with our network administration.
Thank you.
All right.
Kim,
Yeah,
may I
yeah.
just ask a quick question?
Who, I'm not,
Jay.
Jay, yes.
Yep.
Sorry, Jay.
Yep. I just wonder if Ken would be able to share the following documents. I'm just concerned that those who watch this later on YouTube have access to the information, even though we have it in front of us, just so there's a record for them when they watch later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
It's also in our agenda. So that's put up on the website for the Board of Ed, so people can always look there as well. And there'll be minutes of this meeting with them attached too.
Here is the object code summary. Scroll down to the bottom. Right here is
Yeah.
131,546.
I think you might have to-
There you go.
Thank you. I think just asking the public to watch the video, go to a website, download an agenda, download minutes, and try to fumble through all that at the same time. Just be a little easier for them to be able to see it simultaneously with the verbal. So thank you.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to take that one down. Now I'm going to share the claims report, health insurance claims report. Here. Okay. So is this year? So this is through January of 2022. You'll notice for the month of January 2022, we are at 79.7% of projected claims. and on a year-to-date basis at 92.7% of projected claims. This is somewhat comparable to the prior year, where January, wait a minute, was 73.7% of projected claims for the month.
Any other questions about the health? I'm sorry, Katrina and I are laughing because I have taken off the multiple layers of clothing that I have on and she's just thrown on her jacket. So I'm sorry for the distraction. Is there anyone who has a comment about the health insurance? I am trying to put everyone on.
I
All
did,
right.
Kim.
Okay, I'm sorry, Beverly. I'm having a hard time managing finding you. There you are.
Okay. Ken, is this good for us or
Yeah,
bad?
it's good. When we're less than 100% of claims, that's good.
So that blue bar shows what we budgeted and the red bar shows what we're actually spending. And the only month that the red bar was taller than the blue bar was December.
Yeah, last month, yeah. And these things do work cyclically. So as I mentioned, last year in January, there was a dip. So the claims tend to follow a pattern. They take a couple of months to get processed. So January claims would probably be put in the fall. So you can see that it makes sense that there'd be a little lull at this point.
Can you pull that up so they can see the bars?
Oh, yeah. Right
There
here.
we go.
There it is.
I'm talking about something that's not.
Yeah.
there.
It's hard to manage everything.
I know.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we're going to be moving on to the treehouse one.
Treehouse one. So for Treehouse, so the Treehouse Fund is currently sitting at $62,000 as of January 2022. Monthly operating expenses for over the past 6 months average about $50,000. So this balance is within our recommended 1 to 3 month reserve range. In January 2022, in conjunction with the district initiative to address hourly wages due to the labor shortage and the impending minimum wage increase, the wages for Treehouse personnel, non-director Treehouse personnel, were increased by around 7 to 15%. So with this increase, the Treehouse program is now operating at a loss. Without any change to the tuition rates, I suspect we will exhaust its funding either at the beginning or maybe towards the end of the summer. Dr. Piazza, myself, and the Treehouse director worked to determine an appropriate tuition level to ensure the same quality level of care, make the program self-sustaining, but still be a lower cost alternative, and then similar programs in the area. And that's what this chart here is showing. Let's see. The top part is the current rates. So what would happen over an annual basis if we left the rates as they are? You'll see that both for the school year and for the summer camp, we would be losing approximately $82,620 annually. With an increase of $10 per week, that's this bottom section, it would become marginally profitable, enough so that they could build up their reserves more to the 3 months that we'd like to see. The second page is, I'm going to skip to the third page if you don't mind. The third page is regional after-school programs. We have Groton, Ledyard, Stonington, and Waterford. The one problem with looking at it this way is that they all bill on a different basis. We bill weekly, Ledger's bi-weekly, Stonington's monthly. And so that's why we came up with this, page 2, which kind of breaks it down so that's more comparable. The top section is the current rates, both weekly and hourly. And the bottom section is the proposed rate that we're proposing, both, again, weekly and hourly.
Any questions? And this was, just to clarify, this was, we wanted Ken to kind of bring these back to us so we could look at them.
I would say additionally, that the directors will make a real concerted effort to help support families to fill out the care for kids, paperwork, so that that funding will come from the government to Treehouse to afford their, their membership.
Right.
So that, so while it's an increase, they won't, hopefully they won't feel that we'll just really, at this point, I've heard from the director say that not as many families are taking advantage of this that could. So they really know that they're gonna have a added responsibility to get the information to the families, help and assist, and really encourage them for reaching out for this funding.
Katrina?
Susan, how long is the camp?
The summer camp. I think they go 1 or 2 weeks at a time, but there are some students that are there all summer.
Okay, so it
Like
goes-
Yeah.
8 weeks, I think altogether.
Yeah, altogether 8 weeks.
I don't see any other questions.
I saw Beverly's hand.
Beverly? Oh, there you go.
Thanks, Kim. Can you explain again to me what the processing, less processing is? And can you also tell me for the uncollectibles, what do you do to collect the money that's owed to you? Is there any, is there a process that you go to try to get the money that people owe?
Processing and uncollectible, there is an element of credit card processing in there. The Treehouse does the program that they use. The credit card fees flow through to the Treehouse, and they pick up those costs. For the uncollectible, there is a process that the Treehouse personnel go through to attempt to collect all of the outstanding debts. But there is a certain amount that they are unable to collect. Once again, if we were able to get more families on the Care for Kids program, we would see that go down. But at this point, there is an amount that goes uncollected that the Treehouse personnel at some point are just unable to collect.
We had the same issue with our, food services when we had some students who were paying and some who were getting free and reduced lunch. This past couple years, when we've been able to feed everyone, the district has not incurred those expenses.
Do you know the exact amount for the uncollectibles?
The what amount? I'm sorry?
Do you know the exact amount that you haven't been able to collect?
I don't. The Treehouse group gave me a percentage to work into this budget, but I don't have the exact amounts that they haven't been able to collect now.
We can find out.
Yeah, we certainly can find out.
Is there any way that the ARP money can pay for any of the students to attend the after school or before school or camp programs?
I think that's the Care for Kids program that comes with, I think, federal money that goes directly to the Treehouse to help families afford the program.
Right.
So we just need to work a little harder getting that information out and helping support our families.
Yeah, it's an application process, so they have to fill in the application, has to go in and go through that process.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna recognize Andrea. And Jay, did you take your hand down? Nope, it's back up. So I'm gonna do Andrea, Jay, and then Matthew.
Thank you. So this is $100 per child, is that correct?
$100 per child for both the AM per week, for both the AM and PM sessions. Yep,
So if you have 3 children, that's $300 a week.
yes. If they all attend, both sessions, yes.
Right. So I'm wondering about the assistance that Susan just mentioned. How does one attain that? Because I would think that $300 a week is untenable, and maybe $100 a week is untenable. How do you get families help? Susan?
You really advertise the program. I know that they actually sit one-to-one with families to help them fill out the paperwork. So there's a lot of marketing that goes involved in it, and families who really want their children in it and can't afford it really do like to sit down and fill out the form, because it does give them a service that they need, and at no cost to them, or at a partial cost.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Jay?
And I know we thoroughly discussed this at the last meeting, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, none of us want to raise these rates, but at the same token, the program, has to at least pay for itself. We're not looking to make a profit here. We're just trying to break even. And, but if it does fail, then we have to take it out of our operating budget. And I'm just very glad to hear that the staff is pushing the state Care for Kids option for those, that do need it. And I'll just repeat what I said before. If we determine that people are falling between the cracks, I'd like a report from the care or from the Treehouse program, that people have had to drop out because of this tuition increase, but that we're not eligible for Care for Kids, so that we can study this going forward.
Thank you, Jay. Matthew?
2 things. The first, for people who are listening, I'd like to just point out again what's on the sheet that may be difficult to read if you're watching online, is that the hourly cost, if you have, is $4 an hour to the Treehouse. That's after the raise. Now it's $4.44. Compared to Ledyard at $5.24, Stonington at $8.84, and Waterford at $10.50 per hour. So we are clearly non-exploitative.
That's right.
The second thing I would like to say, and I drew from what I listened to, that the Treehouse directors are going to have to do more outreach and more effort. But I'm wondering if this can't be rolled into the registration process, where at the time of registration, we have to have come to Jesus meeting with everybody. And if somebody is eligible, sign them up right then and there, so they don't have to spend tons of time later on, and just get it done at registration.
Yeah, I think every effort's going to be made to let all the parents who register know about it, whether they qualify or not, whether we think they're going to, and then hopefully take advantage of it. But there'll definitely be some follow-up steps.
I
Again,
think if they know, using the example of $300 a week, that they're going to be $1,200 a month, and over 8 months, it's going to be $10,000. I think that kind of communication will take root.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other questions about the Treehouse? If not, I'm going to move us along.
I just have one statement, Kim,
Yes,
if you don't mind.
absolutely.
I appreciate what people are saying about the cost not being that much, but when I went online and I looked at median incomes for like Ledyard, the median income at Ledyard is $93,000. The median income at Stonington is $82,000, and Waterford is $56,000, and Groton is $52,000. So an increase might not mean a lot to us, but it does mean a lot to certain people. So I do hope that the staff really reaches out to the families to get them to fill that Care-a-Lot form so they can get financial help with this program. Do you do the form way before they apply, Susan? Or do they apply and get accepted and then you do the form? How does that work?
They're given it when they enroll. Similar to what we do with our free and reduced lunch forms, we try to do it right at the enrollment time. But then if they needed additional help or support in filling it out, our directors would be available to help them.
Do they have to pay first and then get reimbursed after they submit the form? How does that work?
Well, typically they're enrolling for the next year, so they enroll possibly in the summertime or at the end of the year. That's something I'd have to find out from the directors, how that usually operates.
They've changed how they do payment because they weren't getting, they've changed how they did Care for Kids payment a while ago because people just weren't getting monies. The daycare centers actually were not getting monies, and so they've had to streamline it, but I don't know what that is. So maybe if the staff find that out, we can get that in our board notes so that we can have that circle closed. Any other question? All right, I'm going to move us on to our Director of Buildings and Grounds. I just also want to, before Sam starts, while he's getting the microphone set up for him, is that when we are done with some of our stuff and we're going to be moving into the action items, I'm going to have us kind of go right to the field trips. If everyone agrees to that, so that the people who have been waiting a really long time can leave. So I'm hoping that I have consensus with that. Bev or Jay or Andrea, do you have an issue us doing that?
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
Absolutely not. Yep.
Thank you. And that is true for here. All right. So thanks. So Sam.
Yeah, good evening. So my facilities report, I started out with a walkabout through SB Butler and Claude Chester schools with the Director of Public Works, Greg Hanover, and the supervisor for that department, Bob Charette. On Friday, we went through both buildings, through boiler rooms, everywhere throughout the buildings. They were very pleased with the progress that we've made, and we are ready, as you will see later in the meeting, to turn those over to the town. So
April 1st is no joke.
right. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Right. We are also in making efforts to prepare Mary Morrison for robotics. We are pretty much ready for that to happen over at Mary Morrison. And there may be another group going over there. I think Treehouse is actually going to use the office space over there for their meetings and stuff and storage. So we have those two groups going into Mary Morrison, and we've taken care of those things as well. Regarding transportation, as I reported previously, the new cameras have been installed on the buses. Large buses have 3 cameras, smaller buses have 2 cameras, and I can assure you that these cameras are much more focused than the old cameras. You can see freckles on a face from one end of the bus to the other. So. We've seen quite a bit since those have been installed. So we're thankful to SDA for getting those installed as quickly as they have. I did check in with STA this afternoon, and they do have another bus driver taking a test tomorrow. So we should have another bus driver here very shortly in the Groton area. We do still have some drivers that we're borrowing from the other end of the state still. But with them being here full time, we're actually going to have extra drivers here in the next couple of days. So, that's moving along pretty good. And then I guess the third item, are there any questions on those 2 items first before I move on to the CIP stuff?
I don't hear any. And I just a shout out to Bev, for making sure that we put this on our agenda item so that when we go into tomorrow's meeting, which is another plug for us to kind of show up so that we can defend our Board of Ed budget to the town council, but for us to review the CIP. So Bev, my hat is off to you for making sure we did that.
Do we want to put the attachment up? Attachment,
Do we have?
do we have that to put up?
Ready?
Number 5.
Oh. All right. There you go, Sam.
Okay, so I can't see that far, but I can see the paper in front of me, so I'll go by this one. So the first item is Fitch High School athletic facilities. And we have asked the town to include $244,000 for recrowning of the football field. And when that happens, sodding that, we would also do irrigation in the field, which would be beneficial to water usage and also reduce some of the time that a maintenance person is out there actually moving the equipment up and down the field for irrigation. So that would be helpful. So that's the first item is.
And we had
Fitch High
put that
School
up
athletic.
for a number of years, haven't we?
That one's been up there
Before
probably
2020.
3 or 4 years, I
Yeah.
think. The second item is Charles Barnum Elementary School, the roof replacement. That roof is beyond its 20-year life expectancy. We have been making repairs on a regular basis over there. Kept things in pretty good shape. It is about $1 million in that, and it isn't just replacing the rubber roof, but when they do that, they also have to lay in styrofoam to get a pitch on the roof, so they're no longer flat roofs as we know them today. So they actually get better drainage on there to give it a longer lasting roof and to get drainage better on the roof as well.
And
So-
again, that's a project that's been ongoing for about 3, 4 years.
This one's been on it, yeah, at least 2 years for sure. And the third item that we have submitted to the town is the Fitch High School and Barnum School HVAC upgrades. And this applies to, of course, back in 2008, when the upgrades were made at Fitch High School, the addition to Fitch High School, and of course, some of the existing areas were also upgraded, the office space, some of those. The vintage part of the building down just past where Christie's husband works in the business area and over toward the gym did not get upgrades in HVAC systems. So this is part of the study that we're asking for, is to take a look at that area at the high school. And of course, again, at Charles Barnum School. So that is the study for HVAC at Fitch High School and the Barnum School. Charles Barnum School presently has a little bit of a humidity problem in the lower level. You know, if you've been to that building, you know that in the lower level, on the back side of the building, it's dug into the ground, so it's below grade and is like a damp basement essentially. So we've been running equipment there to take care of the humidity problem, but taking a look at the HVAC system there we should be able to make some improvements there with that study after that study is done. And the last item on the list is the Fitch High School Culinary Arts area. With the career pathway program, the culinary program is looking to create or at least to reorganize the space so that we can get more students involved, because Principal Keller here is here. Probably at least 100 kids a semester maybe that don't get into the program. There are a lot of kids that don't get into the program, but the equipment in that area is really, again, I guess we should use the term vintage again, because it's, I think there's avocado and what's the other 60s color, Harvest Gold, I think
Harvest
so.
Orange.
Yeah.
And it
Harvest
doesn't
Gold and
always work.
avocado of it. While they're not really that color, they are of that vintage, I think. They're from, they're still left over from the homemaking classrooms that were down in that area. So there is no question that we need to do something to upgrade the equipment down there, because the program's a really important program and very popular with the kids. So this is the $70,000 this year for the plans. That plan has already started. They've already talked to the architect who happens to be the same architect who did the middle school slam. I'll remember her name in a minute.
Yeah, her.
I'll give you a call on my way home when I remember the name. But at any rate, the architect who designed the middle school is working on that project with the culinary people presently. And then there is an additional $600,000 the following year for construction and for equipment, roughly $200,000 for equipment and $400,000 for the construction, as estimated by the architect at this point. Of course, once she gets her plans done and the study done, then I guess we'll have a better idea what that number will actually be. And that would be it.
Thank you, Sam. Questions? Beverly?
Thank you, Sam. I was just curious to know if it's reasonable to put $244,000 into the high school football field when I thought the athletic task force was talking about artificial turf.
I believe that's going to be a discussion that comes up as this thing moves forward to the town council. The planning commission, when I met with them, that was exactly the question, one of the questions that they asked. The town manager decided to go ahead and move it forward to the town council. But that'll be a question for them. And I think that the field committee will probably have another report to the town council before that reaches there, the town council itself.
I think originally, Bev, that this committee was focused on Fitch and some of the outer buildings at Fitch, but then they redirected to look at the Claude Chester property for fields. So I don't know where they really sit today.
Okay, so until we know what direction they're going in as far as artificial turf, we may not need to spend this 244,000.
That's
Or do we
possible.
need to spend it anyway in the meantime?
Well, I think we're hanging on by threads of grass. So, and then there's also the Grosso field that's up on the hill, and we're starting to share fields. So if we, if we're able to do that, then to have a grass field would be a good way to go. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the answers are going to be.
We've had some, just some rudimentary discussions regarding sharing of the Grosso Tech brand new artificial football field with Fitch's football team and Grosso's team. And if that were the case, if we're able to do that like the Giants and the Jets do down there in New Jersey, not our favorite teams, but they seem to get along and be able to do that. Then maybe we could do this project at the high school and get that field in good condition for practices, and whatever team wasn't using the artificial field on that night could actually go up to Door Field and use the grass field. So.
And in that case, we won't need to spend the 244,000. Is that what you're thinking?
If we're going to share the other field, I think it would probably be in everybody's best interest to do the $244,000. So that field would also be in top shape for the next few years.
Can I ask a question? It's not on this CIP list, but it just came to my mind. about the bathrooms down at the field. Did you do anything with the bathrooms down there? Especially the ladies' bathroom.
So you
I
remember
haven't been to the men's.
Well, that's good to know, Beverly. Um, as Ken was reporting out about professional services, when Katrina asked about why there was an increase, there is monies to have a study done to take a look at to take a look at what to do about the field, not only the bathrooms, but the field house as well. It was a combined look at that, and that was done in the fall. I mean, we assigned to have that happen. I don't know where we are in the process of the study being done.
It's in the architect hands presently, and that's Amy Samuelson was.
That's right. We knew if we kept him around long enough, he would remember the person's name. All is right with the world. So Beverly, that's where we are with that.
Okay, well, maybe one day we can have an update on the field house and the bathrooms, because football season is approaching and something needs to be done, like I said, with the women's bathroom, but I don't know about the men's.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
And Andrea,
Well, I thought that my question was answered, but I just wanted to emphasize that my question was about the field house. And I just want to emphasize my support of pursuing that vigorously.
Thank you. Any other questions about the CIPs? All right. If not, I'm going to try to get us pretty quickly through the committee reports so that we could go to the field trip approval process. So policy, Andrea.
Yes, we met, and tonight you're going to be getting those students with special dietary needs for first reading, and we're recommending that we go with that. And we have a new date and time for our meetings. They will be on the second Tuesday at 6 p.m. and they will be by Zoom. And next week, Susan and I are going to meet to confirm the agenda.
Super, thank you. Curriculum, I know that Liz had to leave, but I think Katrina is going to pinch hit.
In curriculum, our Latin was discussed, and the students that are taking Latin now, arrangements have been made for them to take Latin next year. The curriculum timeline was reviewed, and there will be some firm date setting for curriculum proposals. And there have been some high school teachers who have applied to write curriculum for the summer. That's it.
Finance and facilities.
Yes, we met on March 8th. We reviewed the Treehouse tuition rates that we reviewed again last week and again tonight. We also reviewed the solar panel power purchase agreement. However, I understand that there's now some uncertainty as to whether the town will proceed with that or we will. And that's about it.
Beverly, did you have a question?
I had a curriculum question for, I think, Katrina. Does that mean Latin will not be offered next year for new students coming into the high school?
Maybe Mrs. Ackerman could answer that.
I believe there were 7 students who were interested. And when we, Dr. Piazza went through all of them, and not one of them was really committed to taking Latin. And Phil, maybe you can elaborate on that. But as I recall, there was really no need expressed by the students.
Right, we reviewed each of the, I think it was 8 students who currently were slated to return, who are currently taking Latin. So they're offering a section of IB next year to finish up upper level students. Only one of the 8 students is actually planning on continuing to the next stage in Latin. The other students are taking other courses of action or different languages, or dropping languages altogether if they're seniors and they don't want it in their schedule. So it will not be offered to new students coming in, to answer Bev's question.
Communications.
Communications, we had our first meeting, finally. Communications, we had our first meeting March 17th. Everyone, I asked that everyone get the minutes for that. Hopefully everyone did. We reviewed what's been done previously as far as communications is concerned. We looked at minutes from the ad hoc communications committee. It was in 2016 or 17? 16. We reviewed the communications plan from 2016. And we came up with a draft statement of purpose. The communications committee is designed to build and strengthen positive interactive relationships with our entire community about Groton Public Schools goals and opportunities. We met this evening before this meeting and refined the draft state or the statement of purpose to read: the communications committee is designed to build and strengthen positive interactive relationships with our entire community about Groton Public Schools. That will need to be referred to the policy committee because it needs to be included in policy 9,000, whichever one that is. I can get you the name. And then it will need to be voted in May because policy does not meet in April.
Okay.
The next work we're going to do is talk about some kind of quarterly newspaper or online thing. I don't remember what else. Matthew, do you remember anything else? Yeah.
We identified, went over Ms. Bayes's list of target populations for external communications. I think Phil will confirm that we determined that internal communications would remain the bailiwick of the administration. We did suggest, make a couple of suggestions about looking at certain age students to solicit their opinions about selected topics as the administration felt such input would be useful.
That's pretty much it.
I think that covers it.
And we set a regular meeting date and time, which will be 5 o'clock before our regular meeting dates.
All right.
So the last Monday of the month at 5.
Okay. All right, and so we're going to move us on to our others. Negotiations, we still have not set up an appointment. I think it's a meeting time. Same thing about the stipends.
We're looking at the end of April because we have April vacation. And Lori, I think, is out on a vacation. So
Okay.
it looks like that's going to be the first. I think we look at the April 27th. Joyce is going to call around to see if we can get everybody there.
All right. And so Rita Volkman is not here to report out for Learn. The Town Council, RTM, and Board of Ed liaison, we have not met. We have not gotten the membership names from the other boards. Oh, Katrina has. So that just needs to be scheduled. The AGSA, GEA, Board of Ed liaison meeting, I believe is scheduled very soon. Groton scholarships. Who is doing Groton scholarships?
Liz does that.
Oh, and Liz is not here. She had to leave. Athletic fields, Jay, is there something new?
Athletic fields actually went before the town council last week, asked them for quick action on the disposition of the Claude Chester property so they can determine how that will fit into their master plan for the whole town.
Okay, thank you. And then the State Council of Education Opportunities for Military Children, have you met?
Yes, we met on the 24th. And I guess the most significant thing was the letter from Secretary of Education Cardona. And he recognized the power and the importance of the military compact throughout the states, particularly in removing barriers for students And something that I was always on top of when I was at Fitch Middle, and that is to recognize the students' status as they come in terms of extracurriculars. So if they're in a particular club, they could continue in that. And also being able to try out for sports teams. And if they're on the team, that they should stay on the team that they're participating in. And to make sure that they're all career programs or pathways were open to military students incoming. And also he talked about training for staff to recognize the needs of how when you see needs emerging in military children, how to recognize those and how then to respond to them. They're still talking about the other important thing was that magnet schools. For example, if your child was in a magnet school in Norfolk, and we had such a magnet school here, that child should go to that school. And then in terms of whether the reserves and the National Guard have status within the compact is still under discussion. And there are training videos on the State Council website. And I think the biggest thing that, and Susan would probably agree, is a Purple Up Day that's upcoming. The official Purple Up Day, which is celebrating military children, is scheduled for April 8th or April 15th. I just looked it up on the web. But I think there's some flexibility, Susan, in Groton and actually all over. The important thing to do is to celebrate military children on a Purple Up Day, whatever that specific day may be. Would you agree?
Yes, and I'm collecting information from all the schools. So I hope to be able to put some Purple Up information to board members soon.
Thank you.
Beverly?
Susan, what happens now if a military child comes into our school district and wants to, in the middle of the school district, say in September, and they want to play football? What's the process now? Do they automatically go into the football team? Because that's something we talked about when I was on the Board of Education years ago.
Well, we have done training and repeated training for our counselors to understand what this compact says, and we talk about doing a refresher almost every year. So whether it's courses or after-school activities, they really have to have what we call kind of highly mobile seats. So we have to have a place for them to participate. We do that for all of our magnet schools as well, Beverly, like the other districts around us. So, and highly mobile may be military or just children moving from place to place so that they have an equal opportunity for entering in a lottery.
So they don't automatically get onto the team, you're saying you have to have a place for them?
No, I'm talking about the
She's talking specifically
magnet
about football.
schools specifically.
She's talking
Oh, okay.
specifically about football.
So I will investigate that and find out, unless you have an answer.
Well, any student that enters the Groton school district in regard to athletic eligibility, as long as they're eligible, using our regular eligibility rule, which would be that they have the correct grades and that they have eligibility left in their high school, so they haven't played 4 seasons already. As long as they're eligible through CIAC, there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to participate in that way.
Yeah, that's right. Even if they came a week after football had started,
That wouldn't matter.
wouldn't matter. So confirmed by Principal Kelleher, they're in to play as long as they're
Okay.
eligible.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, as I promised, we are going to be moving into the action items, and I'm going to ask the board to pay attention to underneath new business. And we're going to do 1, 2, and 3, which will address the field trip thing. So thank you, guys. I am wondering, Matthew, would you be willing to read the motion for number 1C or C1? The motion, please.
Thank you. I move that we approve a field trip request to Spain and Portugal for June 30th, 2022 through July 11th, 2022. So moved.
Can I have a second for that, please? That's Dean. So one part of the discussion is that this was once approved for 2020. And they are just moving this to June 30th. June 30th, 2022 through July 11th, 2022. Obviously, the first time around, it was closed down. But I don't know if people are here that they would want to speak. Yvette, if you would like to speak to this, why don't you come on? Why don't you come down? Come on down.
When I presented almost 2 years ago, I would say, it was approved and we were talking about the trip going to Spain and Portugal, but, with COVID, we had to suspend it, and they were really, really nice enough to, the company, to just roll it over to this year, to this summer, without any penalties or anything. And, and then I got more people, on board to be able to go. And so it's been really positive, and this company, I've gone with them already to Peru. Very responsible. They're, they're on board with like any COVID testing. They already had talked to us about all of those steps that they're taking. So they're ready for us, and they're already traveling. That company is traveling. Kids already have traveled. Actually, last summer when I went to Puerto Rico, I saw a bunch of kids from EF Tours, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, they're pretty safe. They have so many things, for people to be safe. So, they were already doing it last year, but we weren't ready last year. But this year we are. The kids are really ready.
So on here it says that you have 6 students and
Yes,
4 adults.
6 and 4 adults. Yes. Well, including myself, 4 adults and 6. Yes.
Okay. Do I have any questions for this trip? Once again, it was approved. Beverly?
Thank you, Miss Morales. Are you planning to do any fundraising? Because the price of the trip seems quite expensive.
No, since we postponed it for another year, pretty much the kids are paid off. They've been paying, all along. So pretty much they're paid off already. So they didn't have to do any
extra.
Yeah, anything extra.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And this company's been around for years, so you picked a
Yes.
good company to go with.
Yes, over 50 years. So, yeah.
Is there any criteria for the students that go? Like, do they just sign up, or are they special students?
No, I would take anybody that would want it to go, but I recommended it for my students first, and then, and then some parents were on board of going, and cousins and, family members. But I want my Spanish speakers to be able to have that opportunity to travel and, and meet people from and talk in Spanish, that's the whole point. And, but I do, I give it to anybody that would want to go. I offer it to anybody. So, yes.
I was a chaperone on this trip years ago when my daughter was in middle school. We went to Spain, and it was a great trip.
Yeah, thank you. Great. I'm going to recognize Katrina.
This has always puzzled me when these trips come up about earning credit for new experiences.
They can do that. There is, I believe they have like an essay to write. There's a few steps they have to take, but they can do that also and get college credit. I mean, this trip, if they did not want to go and they wanted to use the money from the trip to study abroad, also they can do that. This company has a lot of different opportunities for students.
Okay, I'm talking specifically about students in grade 9 to 12 can earn 3.0 undergraduate credits. Do we recognize those credits? But have you had any students that have?
I haven't had any students that have done that, but yeah.
Those are primarily college credits. They're not high school credits.
Yeah.
It says undergrad.
It says undergraduate.
Yeah.
Right.
Undergraduate, college, undergraduate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's undergrad. That's college.
Okay, well, no, it says 6, it also says 6 to 12 can earn 0.5 elective high school credits.
So that would be something they'd have to apply for.
Right.
high school.
Yeah.
That's possible. Not a lot of students actually take that opportunity. A lot of times they want to go and enjoy the trip.
Yeah,
and
that's what I
you
figured.
know, it doesn't really come up a whole lot, but
Yeah.
but it certainly is something that they would just have to talk to the counselor and say, is it something I can apply for? And actually have to vote for it,
Right.
aspects of that.
That's what I figured. Okay.
I mean, they could use their experience as a college essay. I mean, a lot of them do that, so it helps.
I
with-
guess I was more interested in the electives for the high school.
One thing I do want to mention is that while this is a very small trip, we're going to have a lot of chaperones going. That is going to be our school personnel going on the trip, but 3 other chaperones that are all going to be approved by the district. So that we'll have, you know, almost a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously with any kind of international trip, we want to make sure we have plenty of chaperones available for us. And male and female chaperones as well. So
Yeah, they already did their
background checks. and all that.
background, yeah. Mhm.
Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor to approve a field trip request to Spain and Portugal scheduled for June 30th, 2022 through July 11th, 2022, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain? That motion has carried. Matt, could you read the motion for number 2 as well?
You have to get overtime for this.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve a field trip to London, Paris, and Rome, scheduled for July 10th, 2023 through July 21st, 2023. So moved.
Can I have a second to that, please?
Second.
I've got Dean for second. Discussion, please.
Yeah, I'd like
Welcome.
to introduce Laura Hall. Thank you. She's going to be kind of leading the charge on this. It's obviously not for another 1.5 years, but I do want to commend her in that both teachers that have come today as well for doing this. But Laura's really trying to get a club and activity up and running again, which was the travel club, which actually existed before my time at Fitch High School. And I think as we are kind of moving away from the pandemic a little bit, I'm not gonna say we're done with it, but we're moving away from it. You know, we're trying to get these opportunities for our students going again. She actually approached me about getting this club and activity up and running again. I think this would be a great start for that. So I fully support this endeavor, as I did with the Spain and Portugal one as well. And I really just want to commend both of these teachers for trying to give an opportunity for our students to really get outside of their comfort zone and outside of the country. This is just, I mean, I don't think anyone who looks at this trip and says, well, I wouldn't really want to go on that one.
I think I would want to go to each of these.
Yes, I know. Yes.
So you're a
It
part.
was a special superintendent's rate.
Yeah.
So, no, but I'll let Laura talk a little bit about some of the details, but you know, just a terrific opportunity here as well as that there was an opportunity in Spain.
Yeah, so I'm really happy that this opportunity fell into my lap. I didn't know much about EF Tours until I talked to Yvette and talked to some other colleagues from Fitch High School that have gone on successful trips in the past. The club was formerly ran by Liz Porter, and she passed it down to Allison Harvey, whom does not have the time right now to give the club the time it needs. So I was like, I'll do it. So I am starting this club back up again. At Fitch, I have a lot of eager students that would like to travel, especially post-COVID here. And something I really want to get started with the club is I want to really focus on fundraising as well, so I can open up more opportunities to students that might not be able to afford to go otherwise. So I'd like to have some sort of maybe account for the club or something like that, so I could help students that can't afford to go. So I have a lot of fundraisers that I'm going to be starting to do with the kids if this is approved. I want to get started very soon with them so that because the trip is costly, so that they can go. I think what else I have to say.
So the reason why you're coming so soon is really just to make sure that we've got monies for students who
Yeah,
may
the
not.
cost.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have an option to enroll in a payment plan, and the further out the trip is, the less costly it is per month at least. That gives them that opportunity. So I figured I would come a lot earlier than just 6 months out or something like that, so.
This company, I'm sorry to interrupt her, but this company does give the opportunity to give a discount of $200.
Yes, oh, that's right.
If they sign up, after the meeting, like within a week or so. So that's another opportunity for them to get a little discount there too.
Yeah, they're getting, I think it's about $200 off if they sign up by the end of April. It's just a little incentive, but of course it's open for students beyond that as well. Does anybody have any questions for me? Be happy to
Are there any
answer them.
questions? Dean?
Yeah. We waited too long to get tickets to fly out to my son's graduation. And I think anybody who's looking for airfare knows. What do we think is going to happen to these prices for this trip a year and a half from? Do we think these prices are stable or you're locked in if you sign up for it?
So actually, the quote that the consultant I've been working with is good until the end of April. So if students, I plan on getting started with this on Wednesday after the SATs. But if students do sign up by the end of April, they get that discount incentive and they also are locked in at this price.
Is the plan to fly in this order, fly to London, then Paris, then Rome? Are they all flights or are they internal? Or did you fly to London and then drive all the way to Paris?
Some of them are flights. So we fly to London, but then they take a train, Eurostar, I think it is, to Paris. And I think that's usually like an overnight train situation. And then from there, it looks like we fly to Rome.
You can drive.
You can drive. Yes, I think what they try to do is they try to pick the cheapest option for the trip.
Well, also the quickest because.
Yes, cheapest, quickest, and
Going out, only bus is going to be a long trip.
yes.
And just to say, the prices that they had originally 2 years ago, they kept it.
Wow.
They didn't raise anything,
For your
the
trip.
kids. Yes,
Wow.
That's wonderful.
yes, so, yeah.
Beverly?
Thank you. Is the purpose of the travel club just to travel, or is there another purpose to the club?
Well, I guess it's just to spark an interest in students or students that do have an interest in traveling, but I wanted to do something where the club did more than that. So we could just learn about different countries and students could, I don't know, I really wanted to make it more student led as well. So I could bring student interest to the table. We could discuss different countries that they're interested in traveling to someday or things they want to learn about. So I'm still thinking about in the works of what the travel club could be from what it has been. So I'm open to different opportunities for students, and I don't want it just to be oh, we're going to travel to Europe and then all these other kids want to join and they can't go. So I want to try to welcome as many students as possible.
How many students are in the club now?
Well, so it hasn't been in session for a few years now. So a lot of those students have already graduated. So I didn't want to go forth and do anything too crazy before I presented this trip to you guys, but I have a lot of students in my classes and other that are interested in joining. So obviously this trip will be kind of not necessarily an incentive, but oh, hey, join the travel club, we're planning these trips, but also to bring kids just together in a common interest. So I'm anticipating a good amount of students from what they have told me in class, but we'll see.
That'll be interesting for you to get kind of when it gets obviously closer to get a head count. Beverly, do you have any other questions about the trip?
No, it's just interesting in her activities because she said she's going to be doing activities leading up to the trip and projects after the trip. So I'm interested in knowing what that is.
Oh yeah, I plan on doing a study, a little thing about each place that we're going to go to, so that way when students get there, they know a little bit about it beforehand. So I'm excited to plan those things for them.
Dean?
Yeah, I wouldn't undervalue the motive of just wanting to roam the planet.
Okay.
my daughter, I've watched her for the last couple of years, she's drawing up a list of everywhere she would like to go.
Good for her.
Now,
She might like this trip.
does she want to go because she's interested in these two religions or another language? It's purely to roam the planet. That's all she wants to do, is to go and see and hear and smell. That's it.
Great.
Now, if anything else comes along, terrific.
Yeah.
But that's her motive, is to travel, period.
Yeah, super. Thank you. Any other questions about the trip? Hearing none. All those in favor to approve a field trip request to London, Paris, and Rome scheduled for July 10th, 2023 through July 21st, 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? This has carried. Yay.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right,
Thanks, Paul.
Matthew, I'm going to keep on a roll and I'm going to have you do the field trip and the last one.
I get to go on the next one, right?
Yeah.
To approve a field trip request to Honolulu, the former kingdom of Hawaii, scheduled for March 22nd, 2023 through March 27th, 2023. So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second Fitzgerald.
All right, so Katrina has seconded it. Oof. Discussion, please.
So, I mean, you've already heard a little bit about this trip from the statement during the public discussion. But this is something where, I think that the music program would like to be part of this adjudication in Honolulu. I think that it is an awesome opportunity for our students. There is March 22nd is a Saturday for the beginning of the trip. So there would be Saturday, Sunday, and a return Thursday.
Thursday or Friday.
So does minimize a little bit the amount of time out of school, but there's certainly a lot of educational opportunities here as well. And so and some fun, let's be honest, this is going to be a real fun trip. I think you're all a little bit jealous looking at this one, but great opportunity for our kids, the music program, which we know our kids work so hard at. And this is just an opportunity to really exhibit the great work that the students are doing as part of this program.
And how are we going about the fundraising for this?
So basically, well, first of all, students are not required to go on the trip. This is not something that's, the part of the music program, they have to go on a particular trip. And they certainly, one of the reasons why they want to get this approved as quickly as they can, Booster Club, which we have a representative here, will be working very hard to make sure that we minimize the costs for our students. And if the student really is interested, we want to make sure that we do whatever we can and minimize that cost for them.
We're looking for different revenue opportunities for the group. All of the students have ISA accounts, so anytime they do any fundraising, percentage of what we fundraise goes directly to their personal accounts. So even if they don't go on the trip, they can use them for lessons, they can use them for other things like that. And if we get an approval, we will start tomorrow morning with a multitude list, a large list of all of the different things that we want to do for fundraising.
Andrea?
Doesn't it take a day or more to get there and to come back? So how long will they be in Honolulu?
So we'll be there for 5 days, 2 full days of festivals, and then there are some other activities that the students will be doing that'll be really touring some of the historical sites. So yes, it depends on what they give us for flights. There may be a possibility of an extra day on either end. I think Andrea is looking at Ms. Shabazi and the director is looking at different flight options and everything. They give us the option of like a stayover, like in California if we had to, or we can get flights to go straight through. So we would just have to look at what would work best for the students and what would work best to make sure that they miss as minimal amount of school days as possible, but obviously, aren't jet lagged for half of the trip and then get jet lagged for the other half back.
Yeah, that's my concern is how much of the field trip will be spent in travel. That's my real question.
There will be 5 full days on the island.
Is that reflected in this?
It actually isn't. I mean, her point is it is March 22nd to the 27th. 22nd to the 27th, there's your 5 full days.
So she probably didn't add in the travel days.
So, yeah, shouldn't we be considering that?
We'll need to amend the.
So the first day we arrive, they'll arrive the second day they explore, the third and fourth day are festivals, and then the 5th day, even though it's the 5th day, we actually leave. So depending on what time we leave on that day.
So you think the dates, the 22nd to the 27th are accurate?
Yeah, so it sounds like
Yes.
they're getting like 3 full days.
3 full
and then
days.
I mean, it's been a long time since I've been to Hawaii, unfortunately, but it is a lot, it's a long travel day, but I don't think it's like
No.
24 hours to get there kind of thing. It's,
No.
but it certainly is a long travel day.
Yeah.
So it's basically, you're looking at 2 days of travel, and 3 days of the adjudication slash.
Right.
A direct flight could be 10 hours, 10 and a half hours.
It's 12-hour trip.
So
Okay.
Andrea, it looks like 3 full days with the 2 having travel attached to whatever activity they are doing.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly a full schedule, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Any other question?
I just-
Dean, oh, Matt, I'm going to recognize Matt and then Dean.
Having traveled a lot, maybe Dean will echo this. Is there any way we could extend this to give them the flexibility to have an extra day? Because 12 hours, yeah, they're young and well balanced, but what about who's going to take care of the chaperones? No, seriously, 3 days on site is very little for all that. If we could give them an extra day, it'll make all the difference.
Well, I think there's 2 things. First of all, we could certainly ask Mr. Savas to look into that, and, pending the approval of the Board of Education, we can always update you and just say, hey, look, we're adding another day to it, or whatever it might be. But the one thing I do also want to caution is that adding time also adds cost. And so we want to make sure that we are, keeping this reasonable for our students. I get it, though. I believe me, jet lag hits me hard. I get exactly what
You're
you're
over
saying.
30.
Yeah, there you go. But it's something where, we don't also want to make this unmanageable for the students. But if we could add where they, would just miss the week or whatever, we want to make sure that,
I'm obviously not speaking for the board, but this particular pilgrim would like to give you that flexibility.
Oh, thanks for that.
Dean? And then Beverly.
Unlike the other 2 trips where it's as many people as can come, come on in, it doesn't matter if it's 6 or 12 or something like that. Here we've got musical ensembles. So participation does matter. And I can remember from my London trip, I went because the marching band was going. I really had no awareness that the other musical ensembles were going as well. And to go to a string concert and find that some of our string kids were there, and to have John's name, apologize to the audience that not all of our kids could make it. So the musical group had to be supplemented by other musicians. That's when I thought, oh damn, we should have done fundraising for this to get all of our string people over there. So this is a case where, yeah, you want as many people as possible, So.
Thank you, Dean. Bev?
My question is, how many students are you expecting to go on the trip? And is there extra cost for the instruments?
The extra cost, the instruments, I have absolutely no idea. That's a great question. I didn't even think of that. We'll have to ask Mr. Savasi and be able to get some information for you on that. They are traveling through the kind of program that they're doing. So,
World Strides.
right, World Strides. So I'm assuming that World Strides, if they know they're bringing these ensembles, that there'd be some way that the instruments get shipped over there. And then in terms of the number, I don't have the actual enrollment data for this year's ensembles, but if we've gone to any of our concerts, and I was able to go to our orchestra and choir concert the other night, you're talking about 30 kids in the choir, about 45 to 50 kids in the band. Well, it's, on a big year, so, maybe about 40.
Yes.
And then for the orchestra, I'm thinking about 25 right now. Right now, it's about 25. So, yeah,
Maybe a little over 100.
yeah, with chaperones and everything, you might be talking about 100 people.
I didn't hear the number. Can you give me that again, please?
I say, again, just a blind estimate here. With chaperones and all the kids, you could be looking at about 100 people total.
100?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
Andrea,
can
if you looked in your packet for that, it did say extra cost for instrumental, but we just don't know what the number is.
Right.
Thank you, Katrina.
I saw that. Can you give me when you find out the extra cost, can you let us know?
Yeah, I think what we can do is that, again, pending the approval by the board, once we get all the information, we could simply make sure the board is informed of, hey, we're gonna be taking this many kids. It's gonna be this cost in terms of the instruments, and just give you the kind of fine details. I think the packet kind of gives you the overall thoughts and estimate, but obviously things change once you get a little bit more detail as you get closer.
Okay. I know, I got it. Andrea, any other questions after that?
Yeah, who's paying for the instruments?
We're gonna have to give you that information. We do not have that information as the moment. We
So
don't have that information.
I think it's just rolled into the.
I think
it's rolled into the cost.
it will probably be rolled into the cost, but we will be brought back into
Okay.
that.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to say, sometimes I know the answers, but the public doesn't know the answers. So some of my questions I'm just asking so the public can find out what the answers are. So thank you. I just want to make that statement, that you don't think my questions are frivolous,
No,
because I just want
not
the
at all.
public to know. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. And I'm sorry if I came off a little bit short. I apologize for that. Any other questions? All those in favor to approve a field trip request to Honolulu, Hawaii, scheduled for March 22nd, 2023 through March 27th, 2023, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain? The motion has carried.
I'm abstaining.
All right, but the motion has carried. All right, so we are going to move on to number 4. So that Ernie, thank you for your patience and waiting. And Dean, can I have you read the motion for number 4, please?
Move to certify pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Sections 10-215F that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools of the Groton Board of Education jurisdiction are not exempted from the Connecticut nutritional standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. The certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or by non-school organizations and groups.
Could I have a second to that, please? I have Matthew. So Ernie, would you like to kind of talk to us a little bit about this?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. And for the new members, this healthy food certification that we're talking about right now, we are going into our 9th year with that. What it basically means in a nutshell is we follow Connecticut's strictest of nutritional standards for our students. And this renewal that we do every year allows us to allow the sports teams, bands, etc., to do their fundraising, selling products such as soda, Gatorade, stuff like that at football games and stuff. And it's always after the normal school day. So that's why we're asking that these exemptions that you folks would approve to stay in place. But it also keeps us, doing what we do, following the strictest of health standards in Connecticut for our students.
Do we have questions?
I think you might have been speaking to number 5, but he was.
Would you like to speak to number 4? Or was that for both of them, Ernie?
That was for both of them, actually. I'm sorry. I kind of,
So the strict guidelines were number 4 and the exemptions were number 5.
correct.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Any questions about the motion that's on the floor? All right, all those in favor to certify pursuant to CGS section 10-215F that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under the Groton Board of Education's jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutritional standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutritional standards during the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or by non-school organizations and groups. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain? That motion has carried.
Thank you very much.
You got it. We're gonna do motion, Katrina, would you like to do motion number 5?
Okay, I make a motion to allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. Number 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. Number 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And number 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event, quote, is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The quote, regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. The quote, location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food sales. I so move.
All those. Can I have a second, please? I got Dean for a second. All right. So Ernie, I am assuming you gave us the description in the first time.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any questions about this motion? Matthew.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. I'd like to add a 4th category, a number 4, that at least one food item and one beverage item at any event be a healthy choice as approved by Ernie. The reason I'm making that motion before I ask for a second is that at many events, the choice is between cheese on chips or chips on cheese, carbonated water with sugar or carbonated water without sugar. I'd like to be sure that people who attend these events have at least one choice of a healthy food and a healthy beverage.
I second that.
Ernie, do we typically have like water for sale along with any of the sodas or other things too? I feel like I've always seen water.
Did you write up?
There's always water for sale, and keep in mind, a lot of these activities have nothing whatsoever to do with our food services. They're the outside organizations and stuff. They're not us.
Right.
I did understand that, Ernie, and that's why I wanted them to be able to go to you to get it approved. Just, I trust your judgment.
Certainly can.
Dean?
I can appreciate wanting to offer a healthy alternative, but I'm also looking at it from the point of view of a couple of moms who called on a bunch of people to either bake or buy items to sell for whatever group they're selling, bake sale items for. This is proposal the exception, correct? And to say, well, we want cookies and chips and whatever, cream stuff in so we can sell it. By the way, somebody has to also bring in something healthy. It's certainly doable, but it's already a chore to get this stuff together to begin with. So I'm mindful of that.
Perhaps I wasn't, may I respond?
Yes.
Perhaps I wasn't clear enough. It does not have to be a gourmet food. It could be a bag of tangerines or clementines.
Yeah, I want to be careful that we don't condition a bake sale on needing to have at least the one item that Ernie, while we trust his judgment, has to pass on, because it's already, like I said, it's already a lot of work to.
Well, I trust the group, the collective decision of the group.
It's a good point, but I'm just looking at it from the mom's point, so to speak.
I'm going to recognize Andrea and then Beverly.
I see the purpose of this whole motion is to allow, beverages to, or I'm sorry, food and beverages to be sold that don't meet the criteria of the standards. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to allow that. Nobody is saying, listen, kid, you got to drink this soda or you can't come into the activity. It's just to allow this to happen in light of the legislation that exists.
So what is your point?
I don't know why we would even be discussing offering. Nobody is saying you can't offer it, but the point of this motion is to allow foods that aren't sanctioned to be sold. I mean, I don't get why we would even be discussing this, because that's not the reason this motion is on the floor.
Okay. Beverly?
No, I took my hand down. Andrea gave me some food for thought, so. I was.
Bad.
Jay?
Yeah, I'm just concerned about adding another layer of bureaucracy that every group now is going to have to get in touch with Ernie, and Ernie's going to have to respond. He can put out a general memo to everybody that does this, but to legislate every event that's going forward, I just think it's undue bureaucracy that we're imposing on them and Ernie.
Thank you, Jay. Any further discussion? I know, Dean, I was about ready to, okay. I know, I need your assistance, so stay with me. Okay, so the first is the amendment that's on the floor. And can you read the motion one more time, please?
That at least one food, number 4, that at least one food item and one beverage item, 4 would be fine, at any event be a healthy choice as approved by Ernie. I won't modify it.
Actually, it can't be Ernie. It should be the food service director.
Food service director, thank you.
Okay, so that's the motion that's on the floor. All those in favor
Of this amendment.
of this amendment?
I'd
Of
like
this,
to make an amendment of the amendment.
okay?
Can we have the same amendment, but put the Board of Education recommends or suggests at least one food item be a healthy item?
So we now have another amendment on the floor. Do we still,
You can amend it.
you can amend without having,
I would accept that amendment if Beverly accepted it.
So there's gonna be a second for this.
Yeah.
This is
So-
to amend the proposed amendment.
okay, so what do I do with that?
Can I amend?
Second for that to even be entertained.
Okay,
Can
so
we
I need a
amend-
second, I need a second for this amendment.
But would that negate the need to get it approved by Ernie, if it's merely a suggestion?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Can you remove that one? Can you remove that part that it needs to be approved by Ernie?
I would withdraw my original motion if Beverly
No, we
would
gotta do
accept
it
that.
this time. We're gonna do it this time.
Okay.
Because
how
we
would
started
want?
along this side.
Okay,
The Board of Education recommends that at least one food item and one beverage item at any event be a healthy choice. Or be a healthy alternative is what I would say. Healthy alternative.
So we did not second the second amendment, so that has just gone away.
Well, wait a minute. Are you? No, right, so we don't have a second for the second amendment. So what you're proposing, what you're essentially proposing an amendment
To the amendment.
to the amendment. So
Yeah.
it said- so the amendment has been moved, seconded, discussed, was at the point of being voted on. So you're backtracking, you want to change the original amendment. That's an amendment.
Okay,
Yes.
so I
don't
need
like
to
it
have a
hyper-technical, but that's.
No, okay, so
We
the
got that.
second, so can I have a second to the second amendment?
And we can discuss it.
And then we can discuss it.
I second it.
Thank you, Bev.
Thank you.
So discussion?
This is, this is just a recommendation. It's not anything binding. It doesn't need to be reviewed by food services, but it does recognize that that the board would like healthy options because we want our kids to eat healthy and we try to do that through our food service. But there's no requirement that anyone needs to sell. It's up to them. Whoever the seller is.
So I'm gonna recognize Jay and then I'm gonna recognize Dean. Jay?
I can support that compromise. Thank you, Katrina.
Yes. You're welcome, Jen.
So let me understand the amendment. Is the amendment to the amendment, are you proposing to add language to Matt's amendment?
I am,
Or are you proposing to replace language in that?
I am
Both.
proposing to add the Board of Education, remove approved by food services, add recommended.
So how would the new motion read? The main motion, if this were to go through?
The Board of Education recommends that at least one food item and one beverage item at any event be a healthy alternative. That's what the word was.
Andrea?
I think that this just confuses things. And I don't think that's the intent of this motion, the original one. And I think that that's something that the board can make clear. I think it's just something, it needs, it should go unsaid. I don't think that's the purpose of this motion, the original motion. Again, I'm saying the same thing, but that's.
Thank you. Any further conversation about the second amendment? Because that's the discussion that we're having.
I'll add one more thing if I'm allowed.
Yep.
Thank you. When we discuss things, whether it's solar panels or this thing, it's not always about the money. It's not always about the choice. It's not always the money that we're going to save with the solar panels or the choice. It's the behavior that we want to model for our youngsters. And we want to model healthy living. We want to model environmentally sound practices. And we do this even where there is limited financial benefit on the solar panels and limited impact, in fact, because the kids are going to make the choices they're going to make. But we have modeled the behavior that we would like to see our kids engage in to be reflective and make good choices. So I clearly respect Ms. Ackerman's comments. I truly do.
Any other discussion?
Now we're moving to vote on the
Second amendment. All right, can you please read that?
Okay, I make a motion that the board, the number 4 of number, wait a minute. Okay, that the motion to allow the sale of students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q.
We're not there yet. We are voting on your amendment to the amendment.
But that we,
No,
This is
Okay.
not.
no, we got to do this one first.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Board of Education recommends that at least one food item and one beverage item at any event be a healthy alternative.
All right.
So moved.
No, it's, we're voting. Yeah, so all those, I don't have the writing, so.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the amended motion that was just read, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed.
So that, I think it passed, correct?
4-3.
4-3, so it passed.
Okay, so now the motion has been, now the amendment has been amended. Now, how does the amendment read? I guess we've read it 5 different ways.
This is, the amendment is the number 4. The Board of Education recommends that at least one food item and one beverage item at any event be a healthy alternative.
We'll just have to make sure we have that all written down.
I'm writing that down now.
Okay,
So now, yes, Bev.
This is Joan.
Oh, Joan.
Yes, you said there were 3 no's?
Yes. That's
Who are the
Andrea,
other 2 beside?
Andrea, Dean, and myself.
She on this one?
No, but I've written it down for her. Okay, so we are now, I'm so tired, I don't understand where it was.
Well,
So
now we have original, the main motion has been,
amended, and now we have to vote on that.
well,
Yes, we
We've
have
had
to
the
vote
one-
on the
we've had-
motion
we've had
as
the-
amended.
we've had the one vote,
Right,
okay?
We-
We've had the
we-
one vote, and that was on
the amendment to the amendment.
to Matt's proposed amendment. So
Right.
now we're back to voting on Matt's proposed amendment, which would be the addition of this number 4 line.
Right,
As amended.
no,
Well, yeah, as
It
it's
is.
amended, exactly, as it's just been amended. And if that passes, then we have to consider the whole motion.
Right.
That was originally proposed with that number 4, yea or nay. All right, that's what we're gonna be voting, not the main motion. But Matt's amended as amended by Ken.
okay. So do we need to hear the amendment read again, the
Unless
number
somebody
4?
wants, I'm happy.
Is there anyone that needs to have the number 4 read again?
Jay has his hand up.
Jay?
No, I would like to waive the reading of the motion again. I think we only have to read a motion once at a meeting. I don't think it has to be repeated. So yeah, I'm for just going for the vote. Move the question.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I was gonna say something to this, to the amendment.
So we're voting on the amendment right now.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed.
So it's the same. Okay,
Now we're on the main motion.
okay, so all those in favor of the main motion that is,
I think I'm allowed to say one more thing.
okay,
It won't change anything, but I want to get the record for this one. Some of the behavior we want to model is, you don't want to show ourselves as being too nanny-ish. I think this is being a bit of a nanny, frankly. So that's why I'm voting against it. I've got no problems recommending things. I just don't want to be a Board of Education recommending, that people should eat apples and not cookies. I think people should be able to figure that for themselves. I'm not the parent. I'll deal with my kids. So.
thank you. All those in favor of the main motion as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Aye.
Opposed.
Oppose? But the motion has carried. All right, I am going to read, we're going to continue on with 6 and 7 and then move our way backwards so that Sam, you are here. So the motion is to transfer Colchester Elementary School located at 1 Harry Day Drive, Groton, Connecticut, to the town of Groton, effective April 1st, 2022. Can I have a second to that?
Second, Fitzgerald.
Discussion?
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you.
As I said earlier, I did walk the Public Works Director through along with the supervisor, and they were pleased with progress that, and that it is ready for transfer. The one thing at Claude Chester School that I don't think we're gonna be able to move, the one memorial item, is the Harry Day rock, which is pretty sizable. So unless the town decides it needs to go somewhere else, as long as that's still Harry Day Drive, I don't see why the rock can't stay there. anyways. But it's probably a 5-ton rock.
Minor. Any other questions or discussion? I'm really impressed that we've gotten this done so quickly. The actual moving of the school building back to the town, not tonight's meeting. Trust me.
At the meeting.
I don't know why.
I was a little confused.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, all those in favor of the motion that's on the floor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Oppose? Abstain? Motion has carried. The motion to transfer SB Butler Elementary School located at 155 Ocean View Avenue, Mystic, Connecticut, to the town of Groton, effective April 1st, 2022. Can I have a second to that, please? I have Matt Schulman. Any discussion?
Again, having walked them through, there was actually a project we were finishing up while they were there. We had a heat pipe in the tunnels, spring a leak about 2 days before we were ready to walk them through. So my plumber and his assistant were down in the tunnel repairing that while they were there, because we don't want to turn buildings over to the town. That's going to cause them a heartache either. So we did those repairs before returning it to the town.
Yeah.
Who, we transferred these to the town, so do they become responsible for the utilities to keep the building in good condition?
Yeah. The one thing is that we
may have bought heating oil based upon a certain assumption of use. So we just have to understand whether or not we have excess heating oil to heat that. If we do, then I believe we should heat it through the end of the heating period.
it's almost over now anyways.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
as long as
will.
we have the supply, we don't want to have to pay to have it sit somewhere for next year. So we would probably just continue heating the building as long as we have the supply.
So we would not charge the town for that?
No.
Okay.
Nice question. Any other questions?
One other item, as with Pleasant Valley, we wouldn't abandon the town. If there were, we would continue to cooperate with them, whether they needed something with a boiler, any way that we could help them. We would continue to do that as well, at least until the end of the school year.
Great, I would expect that. Thank you, Sam.
Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion that is on the floor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion has carried. Folks, I'm going to ask that we go back to page 2 of our agenda. I think we can handle the action item, but I'm going to ask Andrea if we can table the policy.
You are asking my question.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So number A is the consent agenda, which all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Points of clarification will be allowed. All those, can I have a, wow.
I move the consent agenda.
Thank you, Dean. Can I have a second?
Second.
Point of clarification. It says on item number 4, the third bullet, Ms. Austin noted that the district has applied for the ROTC program and has not heard back yet. She stated it takes a full year for approval. That's not what I heard.
Where are you reading?
I'm reading on page 3 of the regular meeting minutes on February 28th, page 2, February 28th, regular meeting minutes.
Read it again for me. Thank you.
Okay, page 2, item Roman numeral 4, third bullet. Ms. Austin noted that the district has applied for the ROTC program and has not heard back yet. She stated it takes a full year for approval.
That's correct.
That is correct. We have applied for that form?
Oh, yeah. We applied for it last year
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
and we're expecting 2 here soon.
No, thank you.
In the
Thank
spring.
you for the
Yeah.
clarification.
But was it ROTC? Or was
Well,
it
it's
the
the-
NDCC?
NDDC, but you have to do that one first before you get
Well,
to
it's the
the,
same application.
and I think we checked off both, so I don't know what we'll hear back.
Okay, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Any other points of clarification on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent, of the motion on the floor, please say aye.
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 Oppose, abstain, the motion has carried. All right, folks, we are going to turn the page. Jay, would you please read the motion for number 8?
Yes, I move to recognize April 6th, 2022 as Paraprofessional Appreciation Day and to direct the superintendent of schools to send a letter of appreciation to the paraprofessionals.
Can I have a second,
Second.
please? Okay, I got
Second.
Andrea. I got Andrea for a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor to recognize April 6th, 2022 as Paraprofessional Appreciation Day, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion has carried. Beverly, would you be willing to read number 9, please, motion? Thank you.
Number 9, to recognize April 27th, 2022 as Administrative Professional Day and to direct the superintendent of schools to send a letter of appreciation to the administrative professionals.
Second.
Okay, I've got a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please say aye.
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 Oppose, abstain, that motion has carried. We're now at the communications part. Andrea,
Nothing.
Jay,
Just the emails that everyone else received.
Beverly,
Like Jay, just the emails everybody else received. And I had some people ask me 2 questions. The first question is, are the Board of Ed meetings archived? Can people go back? Say that somebody wants to see this meeting tonight. Can they go back and look at this meeting tonight, like 2 months from now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
and how did it?
under the Board of Ed section, you can see all of the taped recordings.
Okay, and all these meetings on YouTube?
Yes, we also put them on YouTube, at least for the big regular Board of Ed meetings.
Okay, and the second question is, a parent asked me, her grandson's coming to Groton from New London in the fall. What's the process for him to see the new middle school?
Well, we're having an open house on Thursday night. If she wanted to bring them over and he could just walk around, they could see it. Or they can come to the registration and there's an online registration, or they can come to the central office building. And, you know, once we get them processed, then the middle school will be having orientations this summer with the families.
Okay, what time is the open house for the middle school, Susan?
Is it 5 to 7, I
5 to
believe,
7.
5 to 7? And at the middle
Yeah,
school,
5 to
and
7.
it's Thursday evening, 5 to 7.
Does she have to sign up for that?
There is an RSVP, but she could just come.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
anything else, Bev?
Nope, I'm done. Thank you, Kim.
All right, to Matthew.
Nothing to report on any meetings, but I was wondering if Susan had any assignments of where she'd like the board members to go for the elementary school, for the magnet schools, or we just go?
No, I think just, you know, if you just even RSVP to tell me where you're going on that little sheet.
I just want to be sure that no school was not attended because too many
Yeah.
people went to one school.
Well, the directors have all spread out, so we each have a school. And if you wanted to go to 1 or 2 schools, you know, your choice.
Fine.
There might be schools you haven't gone to yet, or, you know.
Probably want to see the new schools.
Katrina.
I got the same emails as everyone else. Attended about some committee meeting. I think that's about it. I'm not gonna go through every single thing because there are.
So I just want to remind people that tomorrow we will be working with the town council about the Board of Ed budget, and so it'd be important for us to attend. And is that going to be at the senior, at Thrive 55? For
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Yes,
okay.
tomorrow's at Thrive 55.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that a couple of weeks ago, Susan and I met together with people from Learn to talk about looking at the possibility of having schools for kids in the middle school and high school that have mental health issues, not necessarily behavioral health issues, and how do we service them in the fact that maybe not every town has enough kids to provide a program and could Learn take lead on that. So we are just starting the dialogue with that. Just to pay attention to, oh, Dean, I didn't get you. I'm so sorry, Dean. Okay, all right. I apologize. So we have a meeting and dates for April. Just to remember, we are only going to have one committee of the whole meeting because it's going to be during school break. So just don't plan to show up and have no one here. And then we have, once again, the meeting with the town bodies. We have, and I'm not quite sure if this is canceled or is that just we haven't rescheduled that. So I'm not quite sure why that's there in terms of the town council and city council liaison. And then I'm down to suggested agenda items.
I just want to make sure we get the permanent or the communications committee. Because that's a new permanent committee.
Okay. Oh, the communication committee back into policy so that,
Yep.
okay, got it. All
I can
right,
send you the exact language.
that would be great if you could do that.
Okay.
Super. All right.
And get it on the agenda for May.
Andrea.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait, I'm very sorry, Jay.
I thought that's what you meant.
Right,
So
no,
sorry.
I just
My
saw Jay.
I'm sorry.
Jay,
I'll
did
keep
I
this,
not get you?
yeah, I'll keep this brief. I just would like to have a discussion about constructing agendas that when we invite people such as faculty and administration, that we address them early in the agenda and not 2 or 3 hours in, because they all have to be back on, at their jobs first thing in the morning, not to mention Susan and everyone else who's there. So.
Yep, Jay, I will take ownership of the fact that I didn't catch that until a little bit later. People were having some thoughtful conversation, so I get it.
And I think just even in planning the menu to make sure that
Yeah.
we condense as much as possible. Sometimes I think we're a little too,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I have that as an agenda item for breakfast tomorrow morning, is that I'm gonna pare down our agendas so that we can have thoughtful conversations, but not have it for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Andrea,
Oh, now
yes.
Yes, please.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
If you want to take